Chapter 101, Origin Academy Council Meeting. A heavy silence hung over the massive, dimly lit chamber. Shadows flickered across jagged walls, cast by eerie blue flames that burned in the braziers lining the hall. At the center stood Varzik the Devourer, a towering figure with 6 muscular arms, his crimson eyes burning with grief and fury. His obsidian-black skin shimmered under the cold firelight, his massive frame radiating an oppressive aura that made even the strongest warriors in the room feel like insects. Before him stood the elite of the Abyssborn Ravagers, some with 4 arms, others with 6 like Varzik, and a rare few with only 2. The ones with 2 arms were the most terrifying, their mere presence warping the very air around them. They were the strongest of their kind, legends even among the Abyssborn. Varzik clenched his fists, his 6 arms trembling with rage. His voice, deep and raw, cut through the silence like a blade. One of our own is dead. A true Abyssborn, one with the potential to surpass us all. A child of the universe. My son, Krozak. The weight of his words settled like a storm, the room vibrating with the barely contained fury of the warriors before him. A figure stepped forward, his 4 golden eyes gleaming under his thick brow. Zorik the Dreadclaw, Krozak's uncle and one of Varzik's most trusted allies. His long, jagged horns curled backward like a crown of death, and his tail, lined with barbed spikes, twitched impatiently. Who did this? Zorik's voice was low, dangerous. Varzik's jaw tightened, his fangs grinding together. He looked at Zorik, then at the gathered warriors, his pride bleeding along with his rage. A newcomer, he spat. A mere student. He goes by the name Adam Dark. They say he was strong, too strong. He killed Krozak without struggle. A stunned silence filled the chamber. Then, laughter. Dark, bitter. From the back of the hall, a 2-armed Abyssborn stepped forward, his movements slow, deliberate. Malakar the Hollow, one of the strongest Abyssborn alive. His deep purple skin rippled as he moved, his golden irises glowing like molten metal. He stopped a few steps away from Varzik and crossed his arms, his voice carrying a quiet amusement. A student, you say? He killed Krozak. Malakar's lips curled into a smirk, but there was no humor in his gaze. Then tell me, Varzik, was your son weak? Or is this Adam Dark something more? The temperature in the chamber dropped as the warriors bristled at Malakar's words. Varzik's hands tightened into fists, his nails digging into his palms. Watch your tongue, Malakar, he growled, his 6 arms flexing. Krozak was strong. You know that. Malakar chuckled, shaking his head. Then that means this Adam is interesting. Zorik snarled, stepping between them. Enough. Krozak is dead, and this Adam must pay. We are Abyssborn. We do not let such insults go unpunished. Varzik exhaled sharply, his fury barely contained. You're right. We will not stand by while some outsider slaughters our own. His burning gaze swept across the gathered warriors. Find this Adam Dark. I don't care how. I want his head brought before me. A chilling grin spread across Malakar's face. Now that sounds fun. The Abyssborn warriors roared in unison, the ground trembling beneath their fury. Adam Dark had just become their enemy. Origin Academy. Adam sneezed, then looked around him. Is someone cursing at me or have ill intentions against me? Adam said as he went back to do what he was doing, sleeping. Elsewhere. Origin Academy Council Meeting. The council chamber of Origin Academy was massive. A grand hall with towering pillars and walls lined with ancient inscriptions. A heavy tension filled the air as Daryl, a tall man with sharp features and piercing blue eyes, sat at the head of the long obsidian table, staring at the Academy's most powerful figures. His voice was firm, but his expression carried a weight of concern. With everything that's happened recently, I think we need to ban killing in the Academy, Daryl said, his gaze sweeping across the room. I understand that competition pushes students to grow stronger, but this isn't just about them anymore. They're safe inside these walls, sure. But the second they step outside, they'll be hunted, Families of those they've killed will be waiting for revenge, and talented students will be wasted before they ever reach their full potential. A silence settled over the room. Some of the council members exchanged glances, while others leaned back, listening. Then, a chuckle. A woman sat at the far end of the table, arms crossed, her crimson eyes glinting under the dim lights. She had long, jet-black hair and pale skin that almost seemed to glow in the darkened chamber. Vena Nightshade, a high-ranking council member and a pure-blooded vampire. Her lips curled into a sharp smile. "Let me guess," Vena said smoothly, tapping her finger against the table. "This is about that new kid you summoned into the academy. What was his name again?" "Ah, right. Adam Dark." Daryl's expression darkened, but he said nothing. Vena leaned forward, her voice laced with amusement. "So, you want to change a rule that has existed since the founding of this academy? Just because of him? If he's really so special, why are you worried?" Her smile widened, fangs barely visible. "If he can't handle something this small, how is he ever going to reach the top of the universe? That's the entire point of Origin Academy. This place was built for the children of the universe, those destined to rule. But there were so few of them that we started admitting others, students with high potential, as you put it. And that rule? It's here to make sure only the strongest survive. If they can't withstand the pressure, they don't deserve to stand among the real monsters." The room fell silent again. Daryl exhaled through his nose, his fingers tightening around the table's edge. "You're missing the point, Vena. I'm not saying we stop training them to be strong. I'm saying there's a difference between pushing them to their limits and throwing them into a slaughterhouse." Vena's eyes flashed with amusement. "Then tell me, Daryl, is Adam Dark truly strong? Or are you just afraid he won't survive?" A tense silence followed, the council waiting for Daryl's answer. Daryl let out a slow breath, his fingers drumming against the obsidian table. His eyes, sharp and calculating, locked onto Vena's amused expression. "You think I'm worried about him?" he said, his voice low but firm. "No, it's the others I'm worried about, the so-called children of the universe. He's targeting them." A heavy silence filled the chamber. Some council members shifted uncomfortably, while others narrowed their eyes. Vena raised an eyebrow, her smirk faltering for just a second. "Oh!" Daryl leaned forward, his tone unwavering. "You're acting like he's just another student trying to survive. He's not. He's hunting them." Chapter 102, Ultimate Summoning Rite. Daryl's words hit the room like a hammer. "You're acting like he's just another student trying to survive. He's not. He's hunting them." Silence. Thick, heavy, almost suffocating. An elven man finally spoke up, his emerald eyes narrowing. "That's a bold claim. What makes you so sure?" Daryl leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "His fights. That got their attention." Several members exchanged glances. The elf frowned. "His fights? He's only been in the arena 3 times. He's killed 2, Krozak, a child of the universe, and Zane, a talented prodigy. That's hardly enough to." "That's exactly my point." Daryl cut in, his tone sharp. "Zane was just a stepping stone to him. After the fight, there was nothing in his eyes but disdain. Like Zane wasn't even worth his time. But when he killed Krozak," he paused, letting the words sink in. "He was happy. Like Krozak gave him something Zane never could." The room fell silent again, but this time, there was tension in the air. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken thoughts. A man with obsidian horns tapped his fingers against the table, his gaze sharp. "And what exactly are you suggesting, Daryl? That he's feeding on them? That he's growing stronger by hunting children of the universe?" Daryl exhaled through his nose, his fingers tightening around the armrest. "I don't know. But I do know this: he's not fighting for survival, not fighting for glory. He's choosing his targets." The vampire woman from earlier scoffed, her crimson eyes gleaming. "So what if he is? The weak die, the strong thrive. It's always been that way." Daryl's eyes snapped to her. Krozak wasn't weak, and neither is Adam Dark. The air in the room grew heavier, a palpable shift as the reality of his words settled in. A grizzled man with streaks of silver in his hair, one of the oldest on the board, finally spoke. His voice was quiet but carried weight. Then the real question is, what does Adam Dark want? No one had an answer, but deep down they all felt it. A storm was coming. Then instead of banning killing, why don't we just send Adam away? Vena's words rang through the chamber. Murmurs of agreement followed, heads nodding in unison. Daryl, however, shook his head. We can't. That single statement silenced the room. What do you mean we can't? Vena narrowed her eyes. Daryl exhaled, his expression unreadable. We can't expel him. He's already furious that he was summoned here against his will. But now, he's grown to like it. He sees this place as the perfect ground for his growth. He hesitated for a brief moment before continuing. And, when I summoned him, I faced resistance. So I used the ultimate summoning rite of the Academy. Gasps filled the room. Some shot up from their seats, while others simply stared at him in disbelief. The ultimate summoning rite, a power that forced the will of the Academy itself upon an individual, dragging them across space and existence without their consent. It was an authority reserved for absolute emergencies, when a being of unparalleled significance needed to be secured. Once invoked, it bound the summoned to the Academy, not physically, but on a deeper, more cosmic level. Adam Dark wasn't just here. He belonged here, and he wasn't leaving unless he wanted to. A heavy silence gripped the room, the weight of Daryl's words pressing down on every single person present. Vena's face darkened, her fingers tightening into a fist on the table. You used that. Daryl nodded. I had no choice. The man with obsidian horns let out a low chuckle, shaking his head. You forced the universe to accept him. Do you even realize what that means? His golden eyes gleamed with something between fascination and unease. Adam Dark isn't just a student anymore. He's a cornerstone, a fixed point. The Academy itself recognizes him as an existence that must be here. The weight of that statement settled in, and for the first time, uncertainty flickered across Vena's face. If that's true, then what happens if we try to remove him? Daryl leaned forward, his gaze cold. You don't want to find out. A slow realization crept through the room. The Academy had absorbed Adam into its very essence. To try and remove him would be to defy something greater than any of them. The vampire woman smirked, resting her chin on her hand. So we're stuck with him. Interesting. The elf from earlier, who had remained quiet for a while, finally spoke again. Then we have two options. His voice was calm, measured. We either find a way to control him, or we prepare for the worst. A tense hush followed. Then the grizzled man with silver streaks in his hair, always the quiet observer, broke the silence. You're all asking the wrong question. The eyes in the room turned to him. He met their gazes steadily, then said the one thing that sent a chill down their spines. What if Adam Dark already knows? What if he's known from the very start? No, he doesn't know. Cecilia's voice was firm, cutting through the heavy silence like a blade. She stood near the edge of the room, her gaze locked onto the blank surface of the sealed vault. Her fingers traced the air absent-mindedly, as if feeling for something that wasn't there. Adam Dark might be many things, but knowing this, that's beyond him. She exhaled, her white eyes dark with something unreadable. He's not omniscient. Believe me, I learned that the hard way. A flicker of tension passed through the room. Daryl watched her carefully. Then what are you saying? Cecilia turned, her expression unreadable. That whatever Adam Dark is doing, he's doing blind. A pause. Vena chuckled, slow and amused. Blind?
No, darling.
He's feeling his way through, and judging by the bodies he's left behind, he's doing a damn good job of it. The elven man let out a tired sigh. That doesn't change the fact that we still don't know what he's preparing for. That's because he is not preparing for anything. Chapter 103 Voidstrider. That's because he's not preparing for anything. The words sliced through the tension like a blade. Every head in the room snapped toward the source. There, seated on an obsidian throne that seemed to drink in the light, was a man who exuded an aura so vast, so unfathomable, that the very space around him felt heavier. His presence was absolute, like a force that had always existed, like something woven into the very fabric of the universe itself. If Adam Dark were here, he would recognize him instantly. The Lord of Dominion, the strongest being in existence. His origin was a mystery, even to the most ancient of beings. Some whispered that he had simply always been. Others believed he came from beyond the known universe, from a place where even the laws of existence crumbled. It was he who had built the Origin Academy, he who had stood at its peak since the very beginning, a being beyond comprehension, a ruler without equal. He rarely made an appearance. Yet, on the day the new batch of students arrived, he had greeted them himself. A moment that had left the entire academy in stunned silence. Why would someone like him do that? Now, as realization dawned, a quiet horror settled over the room. Because now they knew. It had never been about the academy. It had never been about the students. It had always been about him.
Adam Dark.
The Lord of Dominion leaned forward, his fingers tapping once against the armrest of his throne. You're all so caught up in theories, so desperate to understand him. But tell me, his eyes gleamed, dark and endless. Has it ever occurred to you that Adam Dark doesn't need a plan? Silence. A suffocating, dreadful silence. The Lord of Dominion chuckled, low and knowing. You think he's preparing for something? No, he's just existing. His voice was calm, almost amused. And that, my dear counsel, is the real problem. Cecilia's breath hitched. She felt it now, that creeping, gnawing fear clawing at the edges of her mind. Because if Adam Dark wasn't preparing for something, then that meant he didn't need to. The Lord of Dominion exhaled, shaking his head. You still don't get it. His voice was calm, but the weight behind it made the air feel thick. Adam Dark isn't planning anything because there's nothing for him to plan. He's not scheming, not plotting, not playing some long game like the rest of you. Out of everyone in this academy, he's the only one who isn't trying to manipulate his way to the top. He's just here, passing through. And one day when he gets bored, he'll leave. That's all there is to it. He leaned back against his throne, fingers drumming against the armrest. If, by then, he's slaughtered every last child of the universe in his way, then so be it. He'll be strong enough to stand on his own. That's the only thing that matters. The council chamber was deathly silent. Some looked uneasy, others looked furious, but none dared to speak. The Lord of Dominion's gaze swept over them, cold and unmoved. As for your little no-killing rule, I don't agree. A few gasped. Others clenched their fists. The weak will always be preyed upon. That's how the world works. If they don't want to be hunted, they need to get stronger. This universe belongs to the strong. It always has. It always will. And just like that, he vanished. A flicker of darkness. A pulse of raw, unrestrained power. Gone. The room stayed silent for a long time. Then, slowly, the murmurs began. Cecilia's hands tightened into fists. So that's it? We just let him do whatever he wants? We just sit back and watch? The vampire woman smirked, red eyes gleaming. What else can we do? The obsidian-horned man exhaled, shaking his head. You heard him. Adam Dark isn't playing the game. He's just existing. The elf frowned, deep in thought. And that's the real problem, isn't it?
No schemes.
No plans.
No ambitions.
Just a force moving through the academy. Unstoppable, unpredictable, and completely untouchable. The next day, I heard we're finally going outside the academy today. We'll finally get to see what's beyond the walls. Joshua grinned, excitement buzzing in his voice. Male, walking beside him, gave him a sideways glance. Walls? There are no walls. Joshua blinked, confused. Ha! We're not stepping past some gate, Joshua. Male smirked. We're leaving the atmosphere, as in outer space. Joshua froze mid-step, his brain stalling for a second before he slowly turned to Male. Wait, what? Male chuckled, enjoying the look of realization dawning on his friend's face. The Academy isn't just some massive fortress or a floating city. It's a world of its own. And it's huge, bigger than most planets. Joshua's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. You're telling me, this entire time, we've been on a freaking planet? Male shrugged. Not exactly a planet, but close enough. Before Joshua could fully wrap his head around it, a deep hum vibrated through the air. A low, rhythmic pulse, ancient, powerful. The sky above them darkened, shimmering with strange lights, and a crackling arc of energy stretched across the horizon. The portal was opening. Joshua swallowed hard. I suddenly feel very, very small. Male patted him on the back. Welcome to reality. As the students gathered, their eyes locked on the sky, the air buzzed with a mix of excitement and unease. They weren't just stepping outside the academy. They were stepping into the unknown. Everyone stay calm. The instructor's voice cut through the murmurs. The Void Strider will arrive any minute now. Once it lands, you'll board immediately. We leave as soon as possible. A hush fell over the students. The Void Strider, a massive transport forged from a fusion of advanced technology and ancient magic. It moved like a ghost through space, powered by runes older than civilization itself. The ground trembled slightly. Then, a deep hum resonated through the air. The sky above twisted, bending like a mirage, and in the next instant, it was there. A sleek, obsidian vessel hovered just above the ground, shimmering with ethereal blue veins pulsing along its frame. The air around it crackled with raw energy. The ramp extended with a soft hiss, revealing a glowing entrance. The instructor motioned forward. Move. Now. No one hesitated. Chapter 104, Nyxborn Horror. Joshua swallowed hard as he stared up at the Void Strider. The sheer size of it was overwhelming. Up close, the runes carved along its hull pulsed like a living heartbeat, shifting between shades of blue and violet. The energy radiating from it sent a tingling sensation across his skin. Male nudged him. You gonna stand there all day? Or are we getting on? Joshua blinked, shaking himself out of his trance. Right? Yeah. Totally. The students moved in controlled lines, stepping onto the ramp. As soon as they crossed the threshold, a strange sensation washed over them, like stepping through a thin veil of liquid light. The inside of the Void Strider was even more surreal. The walls shimmered with floating patterns, constantly shifting like a nebula caught in motion. Rows of seats curved along the edges of the ship, hovering just slightly above the floor. The air carried a faint hum, a constant reminder that they were inside something far beyond ordinary technology. Joshua hesitated before sitting down. Okay. Be honest. How safe is this thing? Male smirked, strapping himself in. Define safe. Joshua gave him a look. You're not helping. Before Male could respond, the entire ship rumbled, and a deep voice echoed through the chamber. Departure in 10-9-8. Joshua gripped the edges of his seat. Oh hell. A sharp pull yanked at his body as the ship lifted, gravity distorting for a split second before stabilizing. The large viewport at the front of the ship flickered to life, revealing the academy below, except it wasn't just a school. From this height, it became painfully clear. The Origin Academy wasn't just a floating fortress. It wasn't even a planet. It was a colossus of a structure, stretching farther than the eye could see, surrounded by rings of energy swirling like a miniature galaxy. Countless towers, bridges, and entire ecosystems sprawled across its surface. Cities were built into its landscapes. Rivers and mountains coexisted with impossible architectures. Joshua's mouth went dry. This place is insane. The Void Strider shot forward. The moment they broke past the Academy's outer barrier, the view changed space.
Fost.
Endless. dotted with stars so bright they looked close enough to touch. The students were silent, awestruck. Then, without warning, boom. A shockwave rippled through space ahead of them. A rift tore open in the void, swirling with chaotic energy. Joshua's stomach dropped. Was that supposed to happen? The instructor's gaze darkened.
No.
From within the rift, something began to emerge. Something big. And for the first time since this trip began, even Mael looked worried. A hush fell over the cabin. The Void Strider's hum grew sharper, its runes flaring like they sensed something wrong. Joshua gripped his seat, heart hammering. Mael, tell me that's not. I don't know, Mael muttered, eyes locked on the rift. But it's not good. The swirling void twisted violently, distorting space itself. And then it stepped through. A massive figure, dark, towering, its form constantly shifting, like a shadow given life, like it wasn't meant to exist in this reality. Tendrils of void energy curled from its body, spreading like cracks in a mirror. A single glowing eye snapped open in its center. And in that instant, Joshua felt it, pressure. Heavy, suffocating. The air itself vibrated, like reality was screaming in protest. Damn! Someone breathed. The instructors were already moving. The lead instructor, a woman with silver streaks in her dark hair, pressed her fingers against her temple. Command, this is Void Strider 1, we have a situation. Unknown entity just breached real space. Size classification, Titanic. Static. Then a distorted voice crackled through. Return immediately. Do not engage. The instructor's jaw tightened. Too late for that. The entity's eye locked onto them. A low, impossible sound rumbled through the void. The Void Strider shuddered, its energy field flickering wildly. Then, it moved. A limb, if it could even be called that, lashed toward them, distorting space in its wake. Brace! The ship jerked sideways, runes flashing desperately as the pilot wrenched them into a sharp, evasive maneuver. Joshua's stomach flipped as gravity twisted violently. The entity's strike barely missed, but the aftershock alone sent a wave of force crashing against the ship. Lights flickered. The hull groaned. Joshua's breath came fast. We're not equipped for this. We need to run. The instructor's eyes were cold, calculating. Agreed. She snapped her fingers. The air shimmered, and suddenly, a massive sigil flared into existence beneath the ship. Ancient, complex, power thrummed through it, feeding directly into the Void Strider's core. The ship's entire frame glowed. And then, boom! The Void Strider vanished. One moment they were in the entity's grasp. The next, they were flung into the depths of space, light streaking past them as the emergency teleport activated. For a few seconds, there was nothing but silence. Just the hum of the ship, the flickering glow of emergency runes. Then a shaky exhale. Did we just survive that? Joshua muttered. Mael let out a breathless laugh. Barely. The instructor turned toward the cabin, expression unreadable. Everyone, welcome to your first lesson outside the academy. Joshua swallowed. What the hell did they just run into? Aurora stepped forward, her usual stoic expression unchanged as she gazed at the massive entity outside. That's the Nyxborn horror, she said flatly. A monster from the depths of space. Not something anyone can handle, except the real powerhouses of the universe. The instructor's eyes narrowed slightly, barely noticeable, but Aurora caught it. That was information none of them should have known. And yet, she had said it like it was common knowledge. Adams, watching from the side, smirked. She's messing with them. As Aurora casually walked back and stood beside him, Adams leaned in slightly. You know, I think that was supposed to be his moment, he said, motioning toward the instructor. But you just stole it. Why? Aurora didn't even glance at him. Her face was blank as always. He's going to be unbearable in the future, she said simply. Figured I'd start putting him in his place, little by little. Then, as if nothing happened, she returned her gaze to the vastness of space. Chapter 105, Abyssborn Attack. In the vast silence of space, the Void Strider drifted like a ghost, its obsidian frame cutting through the cosmic expanse. Inside, Adam sat with his eyes closed, arms crossed, looking as if he was asleep, but anyone who knew him would know better. Near the viewing deck, Joshua and Mael were practically glued to the glass, eyes wide with wonder. "Dude, we're really out here," Joshua whispered, his breath fogging up the reinforced glass. "Like, look at that." He pointed excitedly as a massive planet came into view, its surface covered in swirling storms of blue and silver. "That's gotta be the biggest storm I've ever seen." "Forget the storm. Look at those ships." Mael's gaze tracked a fleet of sleek, silver vessels breaking through the planet's orbit, weaving in and out of space stations like birds returning to their nests. Some were battle-worn, their hulls scarred from fights in the void. Others gleamed like they had just been built. "I wonder what kind of tech they're using." All around the deck, students murmured in awe. Beyond the ships, a massive nebula stretched across the distance, a swirl of violet and gold glowing against the abyss. Further beyond, the skeleton of a broken moon drifted lazily, shattered remnants floating like silent ghosts. Aurora stood nearby, arms folded, watching the scene without a word. Unlike the others, she wasn't admiring the view. She was waiting. For what? She didn't know. But something was coming. Adam cracked one eye open and smirked. "You're tense." Aurora didn't look at him. "No, I'm not." "Liar." She sighed but didn't argue. Just then, a ripple passed through the Void Strider. Faint, but unmistakable. The kind that wasn't caused by the ship's movement. Aurora's eyes sharpened.
Adam grinned.
"See? Told you." And then, the lights flickered. Something was out there. In the cold darkness of space, a jagged black ship drifted like a predator stalking its prey. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Shadows flickered under the dim red lights, casting eerie shapes across the steel walls. At the center of it all sat Malachar, his crimson eyes narrowed in thought. He leaned against the armrest of his throne-like chair, two of his four hands tapping against the metal absently. Footsteps echoed as his second-in-command entered. The hulking Abyssborn bowed slightly before speaking. "The tracker is in place," he confirmed, his deep voice rumbling. There was a bit of resistance, but nothing they'd notice. Malachar smirked, sharp teeth glinting. "Good." His fingers drummed against the chair as he stared at the holographic display in front of him. The Void Strider, marked and moving exactly as planned. He leaned forward. "You remember the plan. You and the others handle the instructors. They may seem ordinary, but they're from Origin Academy. Do not get sloppy." His glowing eyes flicked up. "And the kids? Kill them all. Even the weaklings." The second-in-command nodded, unfazed. "Understood." Malachar exhaled slowly, eyes gleaming with hunger. "I'll deal with the Atom Brat myself." At the mention of the name, the second-in-command hesitated. Malachar noticed. His smirk faded. "You've been looking into him?" "Yes," the Abyssborn admitted. "But we still don't know exactly what he is. His records are incomplete." Malachar's fingers tightened against his armrest, the metal groaning under his grip. "Incomplete." The second-in-command gave a slow nod. "The files are either erased or locked under heavy security. No background, no family records, no past. Just his name, his admission into Origin Academy, and..." He hesitated. Malachar's eyes darkened. "And what?" "And a single note." The Abyssborn swallowed. "It says, 'Do not provoke.'" Silence filled the room. Then, Malachar laughed. A deep, chilling laugh that echoed through the ship. "Do not provoke?" He grinned, standing up and stretching his forearms. "How interesting." His gaze locked onto the image of the Void Strider. "I guess I'll just have to find out for myself." Back at the Void Strider, Adam stood beside Aurora, arms crossed as he gazed into the endless stretch of stars. His voice was calm, but there was a weight behind it. "I've had this feeling for a while now, like something's coming," he said. You can see the future, right? So tell me, are we in for anything today? Aurora didn't even turn to look at him. I don't know, she said flatly. I can't see your future. Adam raised a brow, amused. Can't? Or won't? She finally glanced at him, expression unreadable. Can't. And I don't care.
Adam çaklet.
I figured as much. I made sure of it. That got her attention. Her cold blue eyes narrowed slightly, but she stayed silent, waiting for him to continue. I have secrets, Aurora. Big ones, he said, voice quieter now. And I can't have you peeking into my future and seeing something you're not supposed to. I'd hate to get rid of you over that. His tone was light, almost teasing, but there was an edge to it. We're not close after all. Even Joshua, who I consider a friend, doesn't know my secrets. So, I hope you're not offended. Aurora studied him for a moment before sighing. If you're that paranoid about your secrets, she muttered, then you'd better be ready for the unknown. Since I can't see your future, I can't warn you about what's coming. Adam tilted his head. That may be true, he admitted. But you can still see everyone else's, right? And whatever's coming, it's not just about me. So tell me. Aurora exhaled sharply, arms crossed. Fine, she said. The Abyss-born Ravagers are coming. I think it's because you killed Krozak. Adam's expression didn't change. I figured. Aurora continued. We survived somehow. I don't know how we defeated Malachar, but I saw his body drifting in space, completely drained of blood. Her brows furrowed slightly. He looked pale. Too pale, even for his kind. A flicker of amusement passed through Adam's eyes. Interesting. Aurora turned to leave. Don't expect me to help again, she said over her shoulder. Since you don't trust me with your secrets, don't make me your personal oracle. Adam watched her go, the ghost of a smirk playing on his lips. Duly noted. Chapter 106. The True Might of Wraith One. Duly noted. While all this was happening, the rest of the students were completely unaware of the danger lurking just beyond their sight. The Void Strider glided smoothly through space, weaving past glowing nebulae and distant planets. It was peaceful, too peaceful. Then it happened. Boom! The entire ship trembled as explosions erupted along its hull. Alarms blared. Lights flickered. Students who had been admiring the view were thrown off balance, their awe turning to panic in an instant. From the darkness of space, enemy ships emerged, moving fast, too fast. The attackers boarded in seconds, their forms shifting as they stepped onto the ship. They looked human, dressed like mercenaries, nothing unusual at first glance. But beneath the disguises, they were something else entirely. Abyssborn. They had hidden their true forms, blending in to avoid bringing the wrath of the Origin Academy onto their entire species. But their intent was clear. This wasn't just an ambush. It was a massacre waiting to happen. Or so they thought. A tense silence filled the air for a split second. Then chaos erupted. Students screamed as the intruders moved in, weapons drawn, eyes cold and calculating. The instructors reacted instantly, barking orders, trying to shield the students while drawing their own weapons. But the Abyssborn were fast, too fast. They struck with precision, cutting down security systems and locking the ship's main exits. Aurora barely flinched, her eyes narrowing as she scanned the invaders. They're good, she muttered. But sloppy. Adam, standing beside her, cracked his neck, a lazy smirk tugging at his lips. Looks like they don't know who they're dealing with. One of the disguised Abyssborn lunged at him, blade gleaming under the flickering lights. Sechenke. Before anyone could blink, Adam had moved. His hand shot forward, gripping the attacker's face. There was a sickening crunch as he drove the Abyssborn's skull into the metal wall, leaving a deep dent. The lifeless body slumped to the floor. The room fell into stunned silence. Even the other Abyssborn hesitated for a second. Joshua, standing nearby, swallowed hard.
Holy shit, Adam.
Adam let go of the body, shaking off the blood from his hand. What? He grinned. They started it. That was all it took. The Abyssborn snapped out of their shock, weapons igniting as they rushed forward. The instructors engaged, but it was clear they were outnumbered. Aurora sighed, stepping forward. Fine. Guess I'll help this once. With a flick of her wrist, the lights above shattered, plunging the room into momentary darkness. Then all hell broke loose. The room plunged into darkness, the only sources of light coming from emergency beacons and the glow of distant stars through the observation windows. A second later, the battle erupted. Aurora moved first. From her body, ghostly blue constructs flared to life, sharp-edged, otherworldly weapons forming in her hands. A translucent spear materialized just as an Abyssborn charged at her. She didn't hesitate. With an effortless thrust, she drove the spear through his chest, his body flickering as his disguise shattered, revealing his monstrous form beneath. Another attacker came from her left. She twisted, and in a blink, a second Aurora stepped out from her like a phantom. The clone slashed forward, cutting the Abyssborn down before dissolving into wisps of light. Aurora's gaze was cold, calculating. Primordial cognition was kicking in, every movement of the enemy, every possible counterattack, all unfolding in her mind like she had already fought this battle 1,000 times. Joshua was next. A flicker of crimson light surged around him as he planted his feet, his hands tightening into fists. "You guys picked the wrong ship," he muttered. An Abyssborn leaped at him, claws gleaming. Joshua didn't even flinch. He ducked under the swipe and countered with a devastating uppercut. The impact sent shockwaves rippling through the ship as the enemy's body folded backward, crashing into the ceiling before slamming back down. Before another enemy could react, Joshua spun, throwing a kick so fast it blurred. The Abyssborn's neck snapped midair as he was launched into the far wall. Mael wasn't far behind. Unlike the others, his fighting style was pure speed. The moment the attack started, he had already moved. The Abyssborn barely saw him as he blurred between them, appearing and disappearing in flashes. A knife in one hand, a plasma-coated short sword in the other, he was like a storm, cutting down enemies in the blink of an eye. One Abyssborn swung at him. He wasn't there anymore. He reappeared behind the attacker, his blade already slicing through. Blood sprayed across the floor as the enemy collapsed. Another tried to shoot him. He twisted midair, caught the bullet between two fingers, and flung it back, straight through the shooter's skull. The instructors were holding their own, but it was clear the students weren't just holding back. They were dominating. Adam watched, arms crossed, an amused smirk on his face. An Abyssborn finally got the guts to charge him. Bad idea. Adam caught the attacker's wrist mid-strike. The Abyssborn struggled for a second before realizing he couldn't move. Adam hadn't just grabbed him. He had crushed his wrist completely. "Try harder," Adam said, his grin widening. Then, with a flick of his fingers, he twisted the wrist at an unnatural angle. The Abyssborn howled in agony. Adam slammed his free hand into the enemy's chest and sent him flying like a ragdoll, crashing through several other attackers in the process. Another one rushed him, this time with a plasma blade.
Adam siket.
Seriously. He stepped forward. In one swift motion, he grabbed the attacker's weapon, yanked it away, and drove it through their own throat before kicking them aside like garbage. His movements were effortless, almost casual. The battle was intense, but it wasn't a struggle. The Abyssborn had made a mistake. They had underestimated the students of Origin Academy. Aurora, Joshua, and Mael were cutting through enemies like seasoned warriors, their abilities overwhelming even the more experienced Abyssborn fighters. The instructors, though surprised, adjusted quickly, realizing the students were more than capable of handling the situation. But something was off. Aurora's eyes flickered with something sharp, a realization clicking in her mind. Her instinct screamed. She twisted her spear, slicing through an enemy's torso before stepping back, scanning the battlefield. The Abyssborn were strong, but they weren't using their full strength. This wasn't just an ambush. It was a distraction. "Adam!" she called out, her voice cutting through the chaos. He turned to her, one eyebrow raised. Yeah, they're stalling. The words barely left her mouth when the ship trembled again. A new presence arrived. A massive, hulking figure stepped through the breach in the hull, the very air around him warping with sheer pressure. His two arms flexed, claws gleaming. His eyes locked onto Adam. Malachar had arrived. The room seemed to freeze for a moment. Even the remaining Abyssborn hesitated, stepping back as their leader took center stage. Adam's smirk never wavered. In fact, it widened. Malachar cracked his knuckles, his deep voice echoing through the chamber. I've been looking forward to this. Adam rolled his shoulders, stepping forward. Same. Chapter 107. The True Might of Wraith 2. Adam rolled his shoulders, taking a step forward. Same. But unfortunately, he said with a smirk, you won't be fighting me. Before Malachar could react, Adam snapped his fingers. Space twisted. In an instant, both of them vanished from the Voidstrider, reappearing in the endless void of space. Malachar barely had time to process the sudden shift before he realized something even more unsettling. Adam took a deep breath in space. There was no air, yet he breathed like it didn't matter. More than that, his expression shifted slightly, like he had just tasted something he had been craving. So much more of it here. Adam muttered to himself. Whatever it was, it clearly had nothing to do with Malachar. But Malachar didn't care. His instincts screamed at him. This wasn't right. Adam waved his hand, and a portal tore open in the void. A pulse of sheer terror rippled through space. Malachar felt his entire body lock up as an aura unlike anything he had ever felt poured out of the portal. Something was stepping through. Malachar saw red eyes first. Cold, predatory, ancient. And then he understood. A vampire? He muttered, his voice barely a whisper. No, not just any vampire. An ancient. The moment the figure emerged completely, the universe itself shuddered. Malachar felt it. Every being within this sector of space felt it. This wasn't just a powerful creature appearing. This was something far worse. Malachar floated backward instinctively, his hands trembling as the realization hit him. The birth of a monarch. His voice was hollow. He had seen powerful beings before. He had fought against the best. But this was death incarnate. The stages of a vampire's power. Vampires were not simple creatures. Their power was not just measured by strength alone but by age, by how long they had survived and evolved past their natural limits. Fledgling 0 to 100 years. The weakest stage, barely above humans. They needed to feed constantly and were vulnerable to most weaknesses. Bloodborne 100 to 500 years. More refined, faster and stronger. They could begin to control lesser vampires and develop their abilities. Elder 500 to 1,000 years. These vampires had transcended mortal limitations, their bodies near indestructible, their regeneration nearly absolute. Ancient 1,000 plus years. The rarest kind. Beings that had seen empires rise and fall. A single ancient could topple civilizations. Monarch, a title not given but earned. When an ancient or any being of any species in the universe reached a power that even the universe itself recognized, they became a monarch. A sovereign of vampires. A walking disaster. And standing before Malachar was not just an ancient. The universe itself had confirmed it. This was a monarch. And Malachar was just another insect in his presence. The air, no, the very fabric of space itself, trembled. Malachar could barely move. His instincts screamed at him to run, but his body refused to obey. It wasn't fear. It was something deeper, something primal. It was submission. The universe had acknowledged the being before him, and in doing so had already declared his place beneath it. Wraith stepped forward, and with that simple motion, the void itself seemed to warp around him. It wasn't teleportation. It was as if space itself was bending to accommodate him. Then it began. The transformation. A pulse of energy burst from his body, silent yet deafening. Cracks spread through the void like shattered glass, glowing with an eerie crimson hue. It was as if reality itself was struggling to contain what was happening. Malakar's breath hitched. Wraith's body shifted, his aura expanding, condensing, then expanding again. A storm of raw power breaking every law Malakar understood. His skin darkened, shadows clinging to him like a living armor. His fingernails sharpened, morphing into obsidian claws. His hair lengthened, strands flowing like liquid midnight, glowing with streaks of deep red. But it was his eyes that sent terror drilling into Malakar's soul. Pure crimson. They weren't just glowing. They were burning, like twin eclipses that swallowed all light. A crown of black. His transformation wasn't just power. It was recognition. The universe had crowned its newest monarch. Malakar gasped as an unseen force pushed him backward, his entire body rejecting the very presence of the being before him. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was the realization that he did not belong in the same space as Wraith. The monarch had ascended. The transformation was not just seen. It was felt. Across the galaxy, beings of power snapped their heads up in shock. In the Origin Academy, alarms blared as ancient sensors. Ones that had remained silent for millennia suddenly flared to life. In forgotten corners of space, slumbering monsters stirred, their instincts warning them of a new predator. Even the stars themselves seemed to dim, as if bowing to the presence of their new ruler. And through it all, Wraith simply raised a hand, curling his fingers into a loose fist. A test. The void responded. A gravitational force stronger than any black hole rippled outward. Malakar's body folded in on itself for a moment, his bones creaking under an invisible pressure before Wraith simply let go. The force vanished instantly, leaving Malakar gasping, floating aimlessly in space. His mind struggled to comprehend what had just happened. But deep down, he knew. He was already dead. He just hadn't been killed yet. And that decision, it belonged to the monarch of vampires. Wraith rolled his shoulders, feeling the surge of power coursing through him. His crimson eyes gleamed with a newfound brilliance, and his presence alone seemed to bend space around him. He exhaled slowly, savoring the moment. "Ah, it feels good to be back at full strength," he said, flexing his fingers as dark energy crackled around them like living shadows. Then he turned. Adam was watching him, arms crossed, expression unreadable. But Wraith could tell. Even with all his power, Adam wasn't surprised. If anything, there was a hint of satisfaction in his eyes.
Adam Simirket.
A monarch. Wraith was on a different level now. And the best part? He was Adam's subordinate. Yeah. Now go handle that guy, Adam said lazily, waving a hand in Malakar's direction. And after that, clean up the rest of those abyss-born ravagers. Without another word, Adam shifted his posture, floating effortlessly into a lotus position. His body hovered in the void, completely relaxed. Wraith narrowed his eyes. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice carrying a hint of irritation. Adam closed his eyes, inhaling deeply, as if he were taking in something beyond the physical. "There's something weird in this space," Adam murmured. "I've felt it before, back at the academy. But here it's stronger. I'm trying to harness it." He smirked. "And if memory serves me right, the best way to do that is through cultivation." For a second, Wraith just stared at him. Then his expression darkened. His frown deepened, crimson eyes flickering. A chill spread through the void. Don't do it." The weight in his voice wasn't a warning. It was a command. For the first time since Wraith's transformation, Adam cracked open one eye, looking at him with mild amusement. "Oh, something about the way Wraith said it. Something about the way his energy shifted. Even in his ascended state, monarch or not, Wraith was worried. And that was interesting. Very interesting." Chapter 108. Harnessing the Universe Energy. Adam raised an eyebrow, his smirk never fading. "And why's that?" He wasn't asking because he was going to listen. That much was obvious. Adam wasn't the type to back down just because someone told him to. Wraith knew this. Still, he sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose before fixing Adam with a sharp look. That energy you're talking about, it's called universal energy. Adam's eyes flickered with intrigue, but he didn't say anything, letting Wraith continue. It's not like mana, chi, ether, or any of the energies people use to cultivate or wield power. It's raw to raw. It doesn't belong to mortals, gods, or anything in between. It belongs to the universe itself. And that means it wasn't meant to be controlled. Wraith floated closer, his voice low but firm. You know how many people have tried to harness it? Adam tilted his head, waiting.
Milyon.
The weight of that number hung in the void between them. You know how many survived? Adam's smirk widened slightly. I'm guessing not many. None. Wraith's tone was absolute. Not a single one. Every last one of them. Geniuses, cultivators, immortals, either crumbled under the pressure or had their very existence erased. Even monarchs have tried, and all they found was death. Adam's expression didn't change, but there was something in his gaze now. Not fear, just interest. So what you're saying is... He mused, tapping his fingers against his knee. It's impossible. Wraith clenched his jaw. It's suicide. Adam exhaled, shaking his head with a chuckle. Man, that just makes me want to try it even more. Wraith cursed under his breath. Adam really was insane. Wraith's eye twitched. Of course he'd say that. Adam, I'm serious. Yeah, you said the same thing when I decided to mess with the Abyssborn. Remind me, how did that turn out?
Adam grinledi.
Wraith scowled. That was different. But before he could argue, Adam closed his eyes, his body relaxing as he floated in the vast emptiness of space. Then, a pulse. The void around them lurched like something had just woken up. Wraith stiffened as a strange hum filled the air, or at least the space where air should have been. Something was moving. No, something was reacting. The surrounding cosmos darkened. Stars flickered, some dimming, some outright vanishing as an invisible force rippled outward from Adam's body. His aura didn't explode like a battle-hungry warrior's. It didn't roar like a beast's. It simply spread, quiet and suffocating. Wraith clenched his fists. "Tsh, you're really doing this." Adam's smirk widened slightly. Obviously. Then, without warning, crack, an invisible force slammed into Adam's body. The space around him shattered like glass, jagged fractures spreading outward in every direction. Wraith was forced back, his instincts screaming as a storm of unseen energy howled through the void. Adam didn't flinch. His body trembled just slightly. His skin cracked, golden light seeping through the fissures like something inside him was struggling to escape. But he didn't stop. His breathing stayed calm, steady, as if he had been expecting this. Wraith's eyes widened. "Wait, you knew." Adam cracked an eye open. "Knew what? That universal energy would fight back?" "Well, duh." Adam let out a short chuckle, wincing slightly as another wave of force hammered into his body. The cracks on his skin deepened, but his smirk never wavered. "Didn't you say it wasn't meant to be controlled? Makes sense it'd put up a fight." Wraith wanted to scream. "That's not the same as knowing how to handle it, you lunatic." Adam tilted his head, seemingly unbothered by the cosmic force trying to tear him apart. "Yeah, but that's what makes it fun, right?" Wraith groaned. He didn't know whether to admire Adam's confidence or prepare for his funeral. Either way, this was about to get messy. Wraith gritted his teeth as the very fabric of space twisted around Adam. The fractures in the void pulsed, shifting and warping like they were trying to reject his presence. Universal energy wasn't just resisting, it was rejecting him outright. And yet, Adam just sat there, legs crossed, floating like he was meditating in some peaceful temple instead of being crushed under the weight of a force that had erased millions before him. "You're actually insane," Wraith muttered. "Took you this long to figure that out?"
Adam kuyped, halink slowly.
Then, boom! A black shockwave erupted from his body, spiraling outward in all directions. Wraith barely managed to steady himself as the sheer pressure of it sent ripples through space. The already fractured void split even further, cracks bleeding into infinity. And then came the pain. Adam's entire body convulsed. Golden cracks tore through his skin like glowing veins, flickering, pulsating, searing. His fingers curled, his breath hitched, but his smirk remained, stubborn and unwavering. Ha! So this is what it feels like. His voice was strained, but there was excitement in it. Wraith's expression darkened. Adam, this isn't funny. This energy isn't just attacking your body. It's unraveling you. If you don't stop, you're going to be nothing but a footnote in history.
Adam ehalet şerpli.
And, Wraith's eye twitched. And, you said no one's ever controlled this, right? Adam's grin widened despite the agony lacing his voice. No one survived trying to control it, you moron. Adam tilted his head, his crimson eyes glowing unnaturally as the space around him warped even further. Exactly. Before Wraith could even process that stupidity, Adam twisted his fingers, and the universe screamed. The black cracks in space rushed toward him, coiling around his body like living shadows. His aura shifted. No, it collapsed inward, as if he was pulling the universal energy into himself instead of letting it tear him apart. A deep, impossible sound rumbled through the void, like the universe itself was warning him. Wraith took a step back.
Adam.
And then, Adam opened his eyes. Adam had done the impossible. He had shattered the most fundamental law of the universe. He had harnessed something that was never meant to be touched, raw, untamed, primordial. And in the very next moment, the universe fought back. A deep, unnatural pulse tore through existence. It wasn't sound. It wasn't energy. It was something beyond all that. Wraith's eyes widened.
Adam.
Crack. Adam's entire body convulsed. His smirk vanished. His eyes flickered, confusion flashing across his face for the first time. Then, it hit him. An overwhelming force ripped through his very being, deeper than the body, deeper than the soul. His breath hitched, his entire form twitching violently as the golden cracks on his skin widened. It wasn't just pain. It was undoing, like the universe itself was trying to erase what he had become. TCH. Adam gritted his teeth, but his limbs buckled. His fingers trembled, his vision blurred, and for the first time in his existence, his body felt wrong. Wraith moved. In an instant, he was at Adam's side, grabbing his arm before he could collapse into the nothingness below. Damn it! I told you this was a bad idea, Wraith snarled, holding on to him tightly. Adam let out a weak chuckle, his voice strained. Okay. Maybe you had a point. Another pulse surged through him, stronger this time. Adam hissed, his entire body flickering between reality and something else. Wraith's instincts screamed. Screw this, we're leaving. Without another word, Wraith's grip tightened, and the two of them vanished. Chapter 109. Supreme Monarch. It's happening. Cecilia's voice was calm, but her glowing white eyes burned with intensity. The birth of the Supreme Monarch. The strongest being in the universe is coming into existence. I can't see who it is, which means I already know. Rael's expression darkened. The celestial man, her brother, crossed his arms, his golden aura pulsing slightly. This is getting out of hand, he muttered. That Adam boy. He's going to change everything we know about the universe. He knew why Cecilia couldn't see it. There was only one being she had ever failed to read. Only one existence that slipped past her sight like a shadow in the void. Even the Lord of Dominion, as terrifying as he was, couldn't fully hide from her. She would never dare look into his future, he would know. But the fact that she could meant something. Adam was different. Even when Cecilia tried to force her sight upon him, when she forced herself to see beyond the veil, all she felt was death staring back at her. She scoffed, shifting her gaze to Rael. Didn't you think this was interesting before? Rael let out a low breath, shaking his head. I won't lie, it is still interesting, he admitted. The fact that the boy harnessed universal energy the very first time he touched it? That's not luck. That's not talent. That's something beyond comprehension. There was respect in his voice, but also something else, a silent understanding. Still, his eyes darkened. Potential like that? It could be the greatest thing to happen to the universe. He looked up, his celestial aura swirling around him like a storm. Or the worst. Yeah, but the prophecy of the Supreme Monarch never said anything about him being the destroyer of the universe. Cecilia said, arms crossed. Rael gave her a sharp look. And it never said anything about him being its savior, either. Cecilia exhaled. She hated when he had a point. Rael leaned forward slightly. Forget Adam for a second. What about Wraith? His voice was lower now, serious. Why is he back now? And if he's back, does that mean the Monarch of Destruction has returned too? Cecilia's expression didn't change, but Rael knew his sister well enough to notice the flicker of unease in her glowing eyes. Today had been a day. Two things happened, both big enough to shake the entire universe. First, Adam somehow harnessed universal energy. And second, the return of the absolute monarch of blood and shadow. Wraith. The moment he reappeared, the very fabric of the universe trembled. Because Wraith wasn't just any monarch. He was an absolute monarch. And that meant something. The ranks of monarchs. Even among monarchs there was a hierarchy. 1. Lesser monarchs, the weakest but still far beyond normal beings. They ruled over minor dominions, feared but not untouchable. 2. High monarchs, their power stretched across galaxies. Rulers of entire civilizations, their names were etched into history. 3. Grand monarchs, these were legends. Their existence shaped the flow of the universe. Gods feared them, empires bowed to them. 4. Absolute monarchs, and then, there were the absolutes. They didn't rule galaxies. They didn't rule empires. They ruled concepts. Their existence wasn't just powerful, it was fundamental. Forces of nature wrapped in flesh and blood. There weren't many of them. In fact, they could be counted on one hand. And Wraith was one of them. Rael clenched his jaw. If Wraith is back, that means the balance is shifting. He met Cecilia's gaze. And if the Monarch of Destruction returns too? Cecilia's fingers tightened around her sleeve. She didn't need him to finish that sentence. Cecilia closed her eyes, her glowing white irises pulsing as she reached out to grasp the threads of fate. She wanted answers. Now that both Adam and Wraith were back, what would happen next? But something was wrong. Instead of glimpsing the future, her vision was yanked backward. The flow of time twisted, dragging her into the past. She saw him, the Monarch of Destruction. But this wasn't the present. She could tell immediately. He was still trapped in the prison dimension forged by the Lord of Dominion. A place where time itself barely existed, designed to hold only the most dangerous beings. Cecilia frowned. Why was she seeing this? Then, her breath caught. The Monarch of Destruction wasn't just imprisoned. He was dead. Someone had killed him. The realization slammed into her like a collapsing star. It didn't make sense. The Lord of Dominion had only sealed him, not executed him. The prison dimension was supposed to hold him indefinitely, weakened but alive. And yet, there he was, motionless, silent, a corpse. Cecilia's vision blurred as whispers of the past echoed around her. Faint, distant like a story half erased from existence. Then she saw it. A shadow. Not a person. Not a being. Just a presence. An unseen force standing over the fallen monarch's body. And before she could make out who or what it was, the vision shattered. Cecilia's eyes snapped open, her breath shaky. Rael immediately noticed her distress. Cecilia? She didn't answer at first. Her heart was pounding. He's dead. Rael blinked. Who? Cecilia looked at him, her glowing eyes swirling with something unreadable. The Monarch of Destruction. Rael frowned. That's impossible. He was sealed, I know, but I just saw it. He died in that prison dimension. Silence hung between them. Then Rael's expression darkened. If that's true, then who the hell killed him? Adam's personal dimension. Wraith carried Adam inside, his expression unreadable as he placed him on a bed in one of the buildings within the dimension. Adam was unconscious, his body still radiating faint traces of that unstable, raw energy. Wraith didn't waste time. He turned and strode outside, intent on finding Adam's clone to fix this mess. But the moment he stepped out, he froze. The entire dimension was empty. No movement.
No voices.
Just an eerie, unnatural silence. Krozak stood in the middle of it all, looking completely stunned. His sharp eyes darted around, trying to make sense of what had just happened. "They're gone," Krozak muttered. His voice wasn't loud, but in the silence, it felt deafening. Wraith narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean, gone?" "I mean, 1 second, Adam's clones were everywhere, doing their thing, and the next..." Krozak exhaled sharply, his hands twitching at his sides. "They just vanished. Poof, like they were never here." Wraith's expression darkened. That wasn't normal. At all. Without another word, he turned and headed back inside. "What's going on?" Krozak called after him, following quickly. "Adam did something reckless," Wraith muttered, his voice tight. "And right now, the only person who can save him." He pushed open the door, glancing at Adam's unconscious form. "Is Adam himself." Chapter 110. Font of Creation. "Where am I?" Adam's voice echoed as he looked around, his eyes narrowing at the strange, shifting space around him. Colors he couldn't name twisted and swirled, energy moving like living currents, flowing in ways that didn't make sense. Then, "You are in the Font of Creation. Weird name, right?" The voice was light, almost playful. Adam turned to see a small figure standing before him. A child? No, something shaped like a child. Their body was pure, swirling energy, constantly shifting between forms and hues. It was impossible to tell if they were a boy or a girl, but the size suggested they were around 6 or 7 years old.
Adam frowned.
"And you are." The being spread its arms wide, as if expecting applause. "I am the physical manifestation of the Font of Creation." Adam raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, okay. That tracks." The being tilted its head. "That was sarcasm." "Maybe." Adam exhaled, rubbing his temple. "All right, let's cut to the chase. I'm here because I tried to harness universal energy. Right?" The being nodded, the colors within its form pulsing. "Bingo. And now we've got a little problem."
Adam tensed.
"Define little." The swirling figure suddenly grinned. "Your soul is breaking apart."
Adam blinked.
"Oh." Adam let out a slow breath, his mind catching up to what the little energy blob had just said. "Breaking apart." He repeated just to make sure he heard that right. The Font of Creation gave him a big, exaggerated nod. "Yep, like a vase dropped from really high up. Except in this case, the pieces don't just stay on the floor. They kinda drift into nothingness." Adam ran a hand through his hair. "All right, cool, nice. So what? ED. More like you stop being altogether." The being swirled around him, floating lazily. "It's not exactly death. More like you unravel. Get erased. Like you were never here." Adam clicked his tongue. "Right? Okay. Not a fan of that. Didn't think you would be." The being laughed. Adam folded his arms. "So, how do I stop it?" The being stopped spinning, its colors flickering. You don't. You're too unstable. The universal energy you tried to harness? This raw, untamed, it doesn't like being controlled. And you just grabbed it with your bare hands like an idiot."
Adam sikhet.
"Thanks for that. Really appreciate it." The font smirked. "No problem. But hey, there is one way you might survive." Adam's eyes narrowed. "Might? You just have to control the Font of Creation," the being said, circling Adam with a mischievous grin. Its glowing form shifted in the air, like ripples on the surface of a pond. "The universal energy, it's the very foundation of everything. It's the force behind creation itself. Primordial, ancient, untamed. And yet you, Adam, you're different. You have the unique trait of creation within you." Adam's brow furrowed. What does that even mean? He was starting to get a hint of what the being was hinting at, but the pieces weren't falling together yet. The being continued, its voice soft but full of energy. Imagine what would happen if you harnessed an energy like that. The universal energy, when combined with your ability, it would be spectacular, boundless, untouchable. Adam stood there for a moment, processing the weight of those words. He'd always known he was different, but this was on another level. Where are you going with this? Adam asked, growing impatient but still intrigued. The being paused, floating before him, its shape shifting like liquid light. Okay, fine. I'll spell it out for you. You just need help to harness the universal energy. And guess what? I'm the perfect one to help you with that. Your unique ability of creation, combined with the universal energy, it makes you the prime candidate. You're the one who can wield and control the font of creation. Adam's eyes widened slightly. The font of creation? Wasn't that what this place was called? Wait, Adam asked, glancing around at the swirling colors, the endless currents of energy that surrounded them. How can I even trust you? You're a being made of energy. What do you get out of helping me? The being chuckled, a soft sound that echoed like 1,000 whispers. Oh, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it for you. All I need is for you to accept your potential. Once you do, we'll reshape the very fabric of reality together. No one will stand in your way. You'll be unstoppable. Adam looked at the being, his thoughts racing. This could be the key to unlocking his true power, but was he ready to take that step? He could feel the energy swirling around him, chaotic and raw, waiting for him to make his move. So, what's next? Adam asked, his voice steady but with an edge of curiosity. The being extended a glowing hand toward him. You have the power. Now all you need is the guidance to control it. Let me show you how to unlock the font of creation within you. Adam stared at the hand, then at the swirling energy all around him. This was it, the choice that would define everything. Was he ready to control the very forces of the universe? He reached out, grasping the being's hand. As soon as their palms met, the world around them exploded in a blaze of light. Time and space twisted, contorted, and Adam felt the rush of infinite power surge through him, power unlike anything he'd ever experienced. He could feel it, the universal energy coursing through his body, connecting him to everything, yet nothing at all. It was raw, dangerous, but beautiful. Every atom in the universe was alive in his veins. He was becoming one with creation itself. And then he felt something crack. A sudden jolt of agony ripped through him as if the very energy inside him was fighting back, threatening to tear him apart. The font of creation was too much to control, too powerful, too wild. It was like trying to hold a raging storm in the palm of his hand. Focus! The being's voice echoed in his mind, sharp and urgent. Focus on your creation. It's within you. Harness it. Adam gasped, his body shaking as he fought to keep the power from swallowing him whole. He had to feel it, control it, bend it to his will. His eyes burned with light, but through the pain, something inside him snapped into place. He wasn't just using the energy. He was becoming it. With a primal scream, Adam released the full force of the universal energy. It erupted outward in a wave of light and power, transforming the very space around them into a chaotic masterpiece. The font of creation was his. For a moment, he felt like he was everywhere and nowhere, a part of the universe and the void all at once. But then, the power settled within him, and he was himself again. Different, stronger, more aware of the world than ever before. The being, now appearing more solid, nodded with satisfaction. See? That wasn't so hard, was it? Adam took a deep breath, steadying himself. So, what now? The being smiled, its form glowing brightly. Now you've unlocked the font of creation. Now you control it, and that changes everything. Chapter 111, Omicron 1. The air felt different now, heavy but not in a bad way. It was like standing in the calm right after a storm, when everything's fresh and the world's holding its breath. Adam slowly opened his eyes. The chaos around him had vanished. No more swirling colors.
No endless void.
Just a glowing platform beneath his feet, floating in a sky full of stars that pulsed like heartbeats. The silence was thick, but peaceful. The being stood across from him, arms folded, head tilted. "You did it," it said, voice lower, steadier now. "You actually did it."
Adam eyhalet.
His hands still trembled, glowing faintly. He stared at his palms, watching the energy flicker just under his skin like a hidden fire. It wasn't wild anymore, it moved with him. "I feel weird," he muttered. "Like everything's slower, but clearer." "That's because you're not just looking at the universe anymore," the being replied, floating lazily backward. "You're connected to it."
Adam suintet.
"So what? I'm like a god now." The being laughed. "Please, if this were an anime, you'd be like halfway through the power-up arc. You've got potential, sure, but you're not even close to the final form yet." Adam smirked a little. "Great. So now what? I go back and wreck some villains?" "Yeah, about that." The being drifted closer, serious now. "You being able to control the font changes the balance of things. Like big time. There are others, ancient beings, old gods, forgotten monsters, that felt what you just did." Adam raised a brow. "Let me guess, they're not fans." "Some might be. Most won't. Either way, they'll come looking." The moment Adam said those words, a quiet hum echoed through the space. The energy around him shifted, then surged. It was like reality itself was reacting to him. His body lit up with ancient symbols glowing from beneath his skin. His veins turned into streaks of golden energy. His eyes flickered, deep galaxies swirling inside. Then, ding! A screen appeared in front of him, crackling with power. Stats updated. Name, Adam Dark. Title, Monarch Slayer. Bloodline, Omnicron Genesis Bloodline New. Divine Royal Vampire Bloodline. Abyss-born Sovereign Bloodline. Royal Divine Demon Bloodline. Race, Omnicron. Origin Variant.
Existence tiers, tiers 2. Physique, 100 000.
Mental 100,000. Soul 100,000. Unique abilities. Creation of all things LVL4. Allows Adam to construct, deconstruct, reshape, or recreate matter, energy, and concepts without restriction. Now includes sentient constructs, metaphysical concepts, and even time-anchored events. With level 4, he can remake laws of reality in limited zones and manifest paradoxes. Abyssal Veil, unique ability. Abilities, nigh immortality. Omniscient instinct. Neural cybernetic technopathy. Absolute loot. Supreme clone technique.
Aura amplifiée.
Flight. Transcendent core. Bloodline traits. From Abyss-born sovereign bloodline. Void sovereignty rules over nothingness. Can erase space or teleport by folding void. Soulfang Ascension, soul devours weaker souls automatically, enhancing itself. Dark Genesis Pulse, can pulse a wave that cancels all divine or sacred powers around him. From Divine Royal Vampire Bloodline. Royal Charm Domination, mind control weaker beings with a glance or a whisper. Blood Synthesis, can absorb and combine other bloodlines temporarily. Eternal Night Physique. Stronger in the dark. Immune to most holy magic. From Omnicron Genesis Bloodline, New. Origin Link, Adam can connect to the origin of any force or law and rewrite it temporarily. Conceptual memory. He remembers things that never happened, allowing him to steal knowledge from alternate timelines. Genesis Fracture, can strike with a blow that unravels the target's creation thread, undoing their existence bit by bit. Reality Chain, every action Adam takes becomes layered with consequences across realities. He can choose one to become real. Omnicron Race, Origin Variant. A race that exists between beginning and end, not bound by dimensions, timelines, or structure. Omnicrons are beings who create and destroy truths just by existing. They were sealed away for being too unstable for any universe. Racial traits. Reality drift, passively phases in and out of existence, can walk through solid space or vanish entirely. Authority override, immune to domain control, laws, and divine decrees. Multiform identity, can fragment his being into alternate versions of himself with different skills or timelines. Omni-being core contains fragments of pre-existence. It adapts endlessly and grows without limit. Adam looked at the screen. For a second, he didn't say anything. Then he smirked. So this is what real power feels like, huh? The font of creation floated nearby, arms crossed, unimpressed. You still owe me a favor, you know? Adam rolled his neck. We'll talk about that later. He turned, walking forward as the space around him twisted, bending to his steps like it knew who he was now. The universe had changed. And Adam had become something it couldn't contain anymore. The space shimmered like liquid light, stars twinkling all around as Adam hovered in his ethereal form. His hand trailed through the air, leaving behind streaks of glowing energy that faded slowly. So I can access this place anytime, right? Adam asked, eyes scanning the vast celestial plane. Yeah, the kid replied, floating beside him like it was the most normal thing ever. This place is your domain now. You can pop in whenever. Tap into the energy, boost your powers, do all kinds of stuff. Just don't blow it up. Adam gave a slow nod. That checked out. He looked down at himself. His body was semi-transparent, pulsing faintly with light. Guess this isn't my real body, he muttered. Nah, the kid grinned. It's like your soul version. But don't worry. Anything you do here still affects your real self. Adam turned to him again, eyebrow raised. Right? Also, I can't keep calling you physical manifestation of the font of creation. That's way too long. You got a name or something? The kid shook his head, multicolored hair flowing like smoke. Nope, never needed one. But you can give me one. Technically, you're my master now.
Adam blinked.
Master? Yeah, you unlocked me, bonded with the font, all that. You're basically my boss. Adam sighed, but didn't argue. He eyed the kid again, swirling energy, raw power wrapped in a humanoid form. He looked like a miniature star walking around. Something strong, something fitting. He smirked. Then I'll call you Nyros. The kid, Nyros, tilted his head, then grinned. Heh, sounds cool. I like it. At that moment, the entire space pulsed once, gently, as if the name had been etched into the very fabric of this domain. Chapter 112, Omnicron 2. 20 years. That's how long it had been since Adam vanished. No warning.
No trace.
Not a single clue. Joshua stood at the center of the grand chamber, hands behind his back, his voice calm but heavy. It's been 20 years since Adam disappeared. And still, not a word. The room was silent. Seated before him were the ones closest to Adam, his blood, his family. Aurora, Male, Raphael, Freya,
Alfred, Arya.
Yeah, the whole Dark family was here. And let's be honest, they didn't look like some grieving group anymore. Nah, they had risen. In power, in status, in reputation. The resources Adam left behind? Insane. Cultivation techniques, rare treasures, artifacts that could flip worlds. The kind of stuff others would go to war for, Adam left them like party favors. And they used them well. 15 years. That's all it took for them to break past limits and step into the open universe. Not just explorers, not just wanderers. Absolute monarchs. Each and every one of them. Even the other three that were here before them. Now they stood shoulder to shoulder. And the rest of the Williams and Dark bloodline, Gloria, Tadia, and the rest of Adam's immediate clan, they stayed back. Not because they were weak, but because they needed a base, a solid foothold before joining the larger game. But they were ready. They were waiting. Meanwhile, Alfred and Arya, they weren't the little 8-year-olds anymore. They were 28 now. Grown. Strong. Radiating power like it was nothing. Alfred's fire aura lit the space around him. His crimson-red hair burning like embers, eyes glowing gold. Arya's presence chilled the room, silver-white hair flowing behind her, her blue eyes like frozen lakes. Fire and ice. Brother and sister. Walking calamities. Their parents, though, still looked like they were in their 30s. Barely aged. You wouldn't think two monsters like Alfred and Arya came from them. And Joshua, male, Aurora? A bit older, sure. But time hadn't dulled them. If anything, it sharpened their edge. The family wasn't broken. They were just waiting. And somewhere out there, the universe had no idea what was coming once he returned. I say we go out there, flip the universe upside down, and drag big bro Adam back ourselves, Alfred said, clenching his fist as flames flared wildly around him. Whoosh! The heat spiked until… bang! Ow! Alfred winced, rubbing the back of his head. Arya stood behind him, hands still raised, not even looking at him. All you think about is fighting. If Adam was in this universe, we would have found him already. Years, everyone fell silent. No one liked admitting it, but she was right. If Adam was in this universe, they'd have sensed him by now. Someone like him couldn't just hide. Not unless… Another universe? Raphael muttered under his breath, frowning. That's insane. Freya leaned forward, her tone a bit more hopeful. What if it's not another universe? Maybe a personal dimension? I've heard whispers in the last 5 years. Big factions, ancient families. Some of them hoard secret planes filled with rare resources. Maybe he's hiding or trapped in one of those. The tension in the room eased a bit. Eyes lit up with possibility. Except one pair Aurora's. She just stared ahead, quiet, unblinking. It's not that simple, she finally said, her voice flat. Sure, the weaker ones might let us in. But if he's not there, we'd have to knock on doors we shouldn't. Powerhouses with 3 absolute monarchs. Yeah, we're strong, but not that strong. Not compared to beings who've ruled for eons. That killed the vibe fast. The room went dead quiet again. So then what? Raphael looked at her, eyebrows drawn. You're the one who sees the future. What now? Aurora sighed. She leaned back against the wall and closed her eyes for a moment. Nothing, she said plainly. We wait. Alfred looked like he was about to explode. Wait. That's your plan? Yeah. She opened her eyes, calm as ever. I'm not worried about Adam. Never have been. That guy, he's not normal. He breaks logic just by breathing. Wherever he is, whatever's going on, he'll come back when he wants to. The others glanced at each other. Freya looked uncertain. Arya crossed her arms but didn't argue. Raphael sat back down quietly, and Alfred just clicked his tongue and flopped into a seat, muttering, TCH. Still feels wrong doing nothing. Aurora looked up at the ceiling, her voice dropping just a bit. He'll come, and when he does, well, I hope the universe is ready for it. Adam's personal dimension. Adam lay on a bed, eyes slowly opening. Something felt different. He sat up, running a hand through his hair, only to pause. It was longer now, silkier, flowing past his shoulders. His body felt sharper, more refined, like every muscle had been carved to perfection. He didn't just look stronger, he was stronger. His reflection shimmered in the air beside him, revealing his face. Matured, striking, almost unreal. But the real change? His eyes. The irises had shifted. A symbol glowed within them, Omega. Even celestials would lower their heads before him now. Adam exhaled, letting his senses expand. His personal dimension. The space was vast, timeless, untouched. Outside, 2 powerful presences pulsed like beacons. Wraith, Krozak. His gaze flickered. Krozak had grown. His aura had changed, deeper, heavier. He'd become a monarch. Powerful one. But even now, he still wasn't on Wraith's level. Because Wraith wasn't just strong. He was the absolute monarch of blood and shadow. Adam smirked, stretching his arms as the void around him trembled slightly. So they're still here, huh? He swung his legs over the bed, standing up, energy swirling faintly around him. Guess I should go say hello. As Adam stood up, the space around him seemed to quiver. Tiny cracks appeared in the air, shattering like glass as his power began to leak out uncontrollably. He flexed his hands, the force surging through him like a tidal wave. I guess I'll have to train to control this, he muttered, watching as the cracks in the dimension healed, but not fast enough to stop his presence from distorting everything around him. With a thought, a screen materialized in front of him. His stats flickered into view. He stared at them, his gaze narrowing as he read the new race. The Omnicron. The Omnicron race did not exist before Adam. It was born the moment he merged with the font of creation. Not a fusion of past bloodlines, but something above them. A race that evolves without end, rewrites its own laws, and exists at the core of all possible realities. Adam's lips curled into a knowing smirk. I see. I'm not just a part of this world anymore. I am the center of it. He closed his eyes, feeling the immense, uncontainable power surging inside him. Chapter 113. The Coming of the Supreme Monarch 1. Adam appeared just a few steps away from them, hands in his pockets, a relaxed smile on his face.
Yo.
Hello, gents. He greeted casually, his voice calm and smooth. His glowing Omega eyes scanned Wraith and Krozak. Judging by the way you two look, I'm guessing I've been out for a while. He walked over to a nearby rock and sat down carefully, slowly, gently, as if even the slightest pressure might reduce it to dust. Wraith raised an eyebrow, arms crossed. Define a while. Adam chuckled softly, one hand resting on his knee. That long, huh? Wraith didn't smile. He just stared at Adam, the boy who once killed him then brought him back, who broke every rule and lived. And now, he was back, stronger, different, still not a monarch, and yet more terrifying than ever. You've been gone for centuries, Adam, Wraith said flatly. In that time, your family tore through the universe. Your parents, your siblings, they all became absolute monarchs. And not just them, your 3 old friends too. Adam blinked, lips parting slightly. Seriously? If it weren't for the Origin Academy shielding the chaos, Wraith continued, the universe might have cracked from all the noise they made. Adam leaned back a bit, processing that. Damn, I really missed a lot. Krozak, who had been silent the whole time, just stared at Adam with an intense look in his eyes. His lips moved slightly, like he wanted to speak, but hesitated. Adam caught it immediately. You've got something to say, Krozak? The air around them grew still. Krozak stepped forward, slowly, then dropped to his knees. His voice was low but steady. It's about my race. They've been left alone all this while because you were unconscious. But now that you're awake, I don't know if you still plan to wipe them out. He looked up at Adam, eyes firm. If you still do, then I ask you this, please spare them. In return, I'll serve you without hesitation. No conditions. Just command, and I'll obey. The air grew heavy. Adam tilted his head, eyes locked on Krozak. Then he smiled. A small, calm smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Krozak, who told you that you ever had the right to not serve me unconditionally? He said, voice low and relaxed. You were mine the moment you came back to life, and that hasn't changed. Krozak didn't flinch. But, Adam continued, standing up from the rock with quiet grace, I value family. I'm not heartless. He walked forward slowly, stopping just in front of Krozak. So I'll let it go for now. But if your race ever tries anything again, I won't erase them. He leaned in slightly. I'll erase their entire concept of existence. Krozak lowered his head. Understood. Wraith let out a low breath through his nose. Same Adam, still terrifying as ever. Adam turned to him with a lazy smirk. You say that like it's a bad thing. Just then, the air shimmered. A ripple of light cut through the dimension like a blade through water. Adam's expression shifted. Someone just tried to scan this place. Wraith narrowed his eyes.
Impossible.
This dimension is locked tighter than a divine vault. Adam's smile slowly faded. Yeah, that's what makes it interesting. He looked toward the ripple, the Omega symbol in his eyes pulsing faintly. Looks like the universe realized I'm back. Then, almost like an afterthought, he said, let's go say hi. And with that, the dimension itself began to tremble, reacting to his will. Just as Adam was about to step forward, space itself cracked under his foot, faint ripples of power spreading like shockwaves through the fabric of reality. Before he could move again, a gentle voice echoed out of thin air. I'd advise against that. A swirl of light and energy gathered in front of him, forming a floating figure. A boy, around 6 years old, with glowing white hair and eyes like stars. Nyros, you may not be strong enough to destroy the universe just by existing. Yet, Nyros said, floating lazily around Adam. But right now, your powers are unstable. Every move you make leaks pressure into the world. And the universe doesn't take kindly to being poked like that. He stopped in front of Adam, hovering at eye level. So yeah, for the sake of the universe and you, stay put. Learn to control it. Then step outside. Adam's eyes narrowed slightly. Nyros? How the hell are you even here? You're supposed to be locked inside the font of creation. Nyros grinned, spinning upside down in the air. That was true. Before you happened.
Adam froned.
What? I'm part of you now, dummy? Nyros giggled, booping Adam's forehead with a tiny finger. So wherever you are, I can be too. Plane, realm, dimension, doesn't matter. Adam sighed, running a hand through his long hair. Great, so I've got a cosmic toddler haunting me now. Nyros gave a smug smile. Cosmic toddler with access to all your secrets. By the way, Wraith raised a brow. I don't like that thing. Feelings mutual, Shadow Man, Nyros replied cheerfully. Adam shook his head. Guess I'm really back. He looked out into the distance, through the dimension walls past the stars. And it's about to get loud out there. Elsewhere, the grand hall shimmered with ethereal light, walls carved from translucent obsidian, shifting with veins of glowing silver. Strange flora floated in mid-air, blooming and fading in slow rhythm. At the end of the hall sat a tall figure on a throne made of living crystal. He was no human. The being had deep blue skin, smooth and glass-like, with cracks across his face that glowed softly like molten core. His eyes were endless pools of violet, swirling slowly as if galaxies spun inside them. Horns like polished obsidian curved back from his forehead, and his robes rippled like they were stitched from time itself. The monarch of mirrors. Absolute monarchs, he said, his voice layered with echoes. Being so rare that even those who claim their allegiance might live and die without laying eyes on them. And now, two stand in my hall. He leaned forward, resting one clawed hand on his chin, a wry smile playing on his lips. To what do I owe the pleasure? Arya of eternal ice, and Alfred, flame sovereign of the southern cosmos. Alfred smirked, hands in his coat pockets, a flicker of fire dancing behind his eyes. We're building something. Arya stepped forward, her presence calm but heavy like a coming blizzard. A faction, or rather a force, one that doesn't answer to the old systems. We're recruiting. The monarch raised an icy brow. And you want my family? We want strength, Alfred said bluntly. And yours has plenty of it, especially your daughter, the one who shattered the Skyvale Titan alone. The monarch of mirrors tilted his head slightly. You mean Rayla? He tapped a finger on the armrest. For a moment, the hall went silent except for the soft hum of the air. And what makes you think she or any of mine would follow you? Arya's eyes gleamed with frost. Because this isn't about following us. It's about standing with the one who's coming back. The monarch's smile vanished. You mean? Yeah, Alfred said, flames licking at his fingertips. Him. The hall trembled ever so slightly. I see, the monarch said at last, sitting back with a thoughtful look. Then perhaps it is time. Rayla. A blur of light shot from the side of the chamber as a figure landed silently next to the throne. She looked young, no older than 20 by appearance, but her aura was ancient. Her hair was silver with a faint blue sheen, her eyes glowing softly like twin moons. She wore battle gear trimmed in glass and frost steel, her expression unreadable. "You called, Father? Meet the future," the monarch said, "and possibly its end." Chapter 114. The Coming of the Supreme Monarch II. The plan to build a stronghold had been pushed aside the moment they arrived. Searching for Adam was all that mattered. But now, with Aurora finally confirming that he had awakened, everything changed. No more waiting. The strongest faction in the universe was finally taking shape. Using the fame Adam had unknowingly gathered back in the Origin Academy, they moved. Cecilia and Aurora, oracles known across countless star systems, spread the word. The Supreme Monarch is coming.
Adam Derk.
His name echoed across galaxies. Some whispered it, others feared it. Many were eager to follow it. And the faction they were forming? It wasn't just some random alliance. This was something else. Something that carried weight, purpose, and absolute power. 7 absolute monarchs stood at its core. Each of them a giant in the eyes of the universe. Legends. Names that caused entire factions to hold their breath. With beings like that at its foundation, there was no question. People would come. From every corner of reality. And soon, the universe would have a new center. Not a planet. Not a realm. But a name. Dark. "We've commissioned the dwarven clans of Murforge to construct a mothership," Raphael said, projecting a holographic model into the air. The design was massive, shaped like a blade cutting through the void. Armored hulls, quantum reactors, and dimensional stabilizers humming beneath its frame. "This vessel will carry all qualified high-level combatants into the greater universe," he continued, pointing to the compartments designated for cultivation chambers, resource vaults, and training fields. "The rest will remain on Earth. They'll grow, train, protect the planet, and raise the next generation. Eventually, they'll ascend and take their place among the stars." His voice dropped slightly, now edged with concern. "But I've discovered something troubling." He turned, locking eyes with his wife, who sat calmly, scrolling through the logistics interface. "Every planet we've surveyed, without exception, has ambient mana. It's the foundation for their cultivation systems. Knights, mages, spirit users, they all draw from it. But Earth, our Earth, has none. It's completely barren. Not a trickle. Not even residual flow." He stepped closer to the console, tapping through the collected data streams. "I've run atmospheric scans, geological samplings, even ancient ley line analysis. Every model leads to a dead end. Either Earth was never meant to have mana, or—" He paused, then added gravely, "something drained it long ago." His wife finally looked up from the console. "And if it's the latter?" Raphael narrowed his eyes. "Then we're dealing with an unknown force that once erased a world's potential. And it may not be finished." The silence that followed was heavy. Plans of building a faction strong enough to shake the universe were one thing, but uncovering Earth's forgotten past might be even more important. Because without mana, Earth was never supposed to compete. Yet somehow Adam was born there. And that changed everything. "That's never the case." Aurora's voice cut through the air as she stepped into the room. Her long silver hair glowing faintly like moonlight, her presence quiet but absolute. "Don't jump to conclusions, Raphael. Earth didn't lose mana. It never had it to begin with." She walked over, eyes scanning the holographic data. "We don't have a mana core like other worlds. Our physiology is completely different. And because of that, we were built differently. Stronger, more adaptable, more dangerous. It's not a flaw. It's a feature." Raphael frowned. "Then what does that make us?" Aurora smiled faintly. "A miracle the universe never expected." She paused for a moment, then looked toward the stars beyond the reinforced windows. "Also, I can feel it." "Feel what?" Freya asked, standing beside the console. "The shift," Aurora said softly. "The universe is moving again, like it's happy." Freya raised a brow. "Happy? For what?" Aurora turned, a calm fire in her eyes. "The return of its most favored son, the Supreme Monarch. Adam is awake. A silence fell across the room. For a long time, everyone had believed the universe had tried to kill Adam, rejecting him, fighting against him because he dared to harness the very energy it governed. But the truth was far more complicated. The universe wasn't attacking him. It was rewriting him. While Adam pushed his limits, tearing into the source of creation, the universe responded not with rejection, but with guidance. Bit by bit, it reshaped his entire body, reforging him in secret, making him into something that could survive what no one else could. But the process, it nearly broke even him. He wasn't fighting against the universe, Aurora said quietly. He was being remade by it. That's why it felt like he was dying. Freya whispered, "Then he's not just strong." Aurora nodded. "He belongs to the universe now, and the universe knows it." Freya took a step back, the weight of Aurora's words settling deep in her chest. "So what happens now?" she asked, her voice low. Aurora's gaze never left the stars. "Now, the universe sings. Wordlessly, quietly, but it sings, because its champion has returned." Raphael folded his arms, still trying to process everything. "So, the plan continues?" Aurora turned to face them fully. "More than that, it begins. Adam's return changes everything. We're no longer playing defense. With him awake, the foundation of our faction is no longer a dream. It's inevitable." Elsewhere, the room was dark, lit only by the soft, pulsating glow of ancient runes on the walls. A single figure sat atop a floating obsidian throne, cloaked in shadows, his presence alone distorting the air. "I heard a new faction is rising," the man said, voice smooth but heavy, echoing like thunder wrapped in silk. "7 absolute monarchs? Is it true?" "Yes, my lord," the woman kneeling before him replied, her forehead pressed to the cold floor. "They come from a planet with no mana, completely ordinary by all standards. But it gave birth to them, and to the one they call the Supreme Monarch." The air grew tense. The man's lips curled into a slow, amused smile. Then came the laugh, low and deep, vibrating through the hall like a beast awakening from slumber. "Ha! A planet without mana birthing monsters like that?" he mused, leaning forward just slightly. "Now that is something you don't see every era." He stood, the shadows slithering around his form, revealing a towering figure with metallic silver skin etched with golden lines, his eyes glowing like twin suns behind a regal mask. "The universe has been quiet for too long," he said, his voice now laced with excitement. "Let's see how long that peace lasts. Now that the Supreme Monarch walks again." He turned away, his cape fluttering like smoke. "Send the Watchers. I want eyes on them. Every single one." Chapter 115. Supreme Monarch of Creation 1. A vast, endless expanse stretched out like a dream. Adam's personal dimension, shaped by his will, was a fusion of stars, ancient ruins, and floating landmasses bathed in twilight. Gravity shifted with his mood. Space bent with his movement. In the center of it all stood Adam, shirtless, barefoot, and calm. His eyes glowed faintly with swirling cosmic light. Around him hovered 3 perfect replicas, his clones, each radiating a different shade of power. One cloaked in flame, another pulsing with raw energy, the third wreathed in shadows. "All right," Adam muttered, cracking his knuckles. "Let's try again. This time, no breaking my sky." From a distance, Nyros floated on a golden cloud, munching on fruit he conjured out of nowhere, still in the form of a 6-year-old boy. "I'm impressed you haven't destroyed the entire dimension yet," he giggled. "Progress." Krozak stood beside Wraith on a hovering stone platform, arms crossed, both watching in silence. "He's getting better," Wraith said, his sharp eyes following Adam's movements. "Still rough, but better." With a silent breath, Adam vanished. Boom! He reappeared mid-air, slamming a punch into one clone, causing it to dissolve into stardust. The moment his fist hit, the sky above cracked, but only slightly.
Adam Yincet.
Still too much. The shadow clone launched itself at him, a blade made of spatial energy cutting toward his neck. He ducked, twisted midair, and caught the blade with 2 fingers. Nice try. He spun and kicked the clone into the ground, the impact sending a wave through the land, but the floating island held. Wraith raised a brow. He's suppressing it. Barely. Krozak nodded slowly. He's learning to flow with the power instead of forcing it. Nairos grinned, his eyes twinkling. Of course. He's mine now. He's gotta be a little special. Back in the sky, Adam formed another clone, this one radiating void energy. They clashed in a blur, punches echoing like thunder, energy cracking the fabric of reality, but this time, mending itself right after. Control the intent, Adam muttered. Not the power. The intent behind the strike. The clone vanished again. Adam floated alone, arms spread wide as he drew in the power around him. The stars in his dimension shimmered. His aura didn't explode this time, it rippled, like a calm ocean. Wraith gave a rare smile. Now that looks like control. Nairos took a bite of his fruit and nodded. We're getting there. Adam slowly opened his eyes, the glow fading. One more round, he said, smirking. I'm just getting started. With a flick of his hand, 10 new clones appeared, each stronger than the last. The training continued. The sky trembled, but didn't break. Adam landed softly on the floating ground, the impact barely causing a ripple this time. His breathing was steady, controlled, even though he'd just gone 10 rounds with power that could level galaxies. The 10 clones circled him like predators, each one a reflection of his different aspects. Destruction, creation, void, time, flame, ice, gravity, light, shadow, and chaos. They attacked all at once. Boom! The dimension shuddered as fist met fist, bursts of color painting the sky like a living aurora. Each strike was precise now, guided by instinct and discipline. Adam weaved between attacks, deflecting, countering, redirecting his clone's overwhelming power with subtle shifts in movement. On a nearby floating peak, Wraith's cloak fluttered in the wind, his arms still crossed. He's no longer relying on raw power alone, Wraith murmured. He's starting to fight like a true monarch. Krozak nodded, barely blinking as he watched. He's adapting, learning to feel the energy instead of forcing it. Nairos floated beside them, laying on his back mid-air with his hands behind his head. MMH. Took him long enough, he said, a lollipop suddenly appearing in his mouth. But this is just basic. He still hasn't touched the real stuff. Below, Adam dashed between 2 clones, one cloaked in chaos, the other burning with sunfire. He dropped low, swept the chaos clone off its feet with a sharp leg swipe, then vanished and reappeared above the flame clone with a reverse axe kick that shattered it like glass. 6 down, he muttered. The remaining 4 clones stood back to back, shifting into new forms, combining elements. Ice and gravity, light and void, shadow and flame, time and creation. Adam floated before them, letting his aura rise just a bit. The air around him rippled like heat. Nairos sat up. Oh, he's gonna try that move again. Wraith frowned. He's not ready. Krozak narrowed his eyes. He might surprise us. Adam closed his eyes, and then everything stopped. Time froze, colors inverted. Gravity lost meaning. The clones didn't move. The stars paused. The dimension held its breath. Then a crack. Adam took 1 step. Reality shattered like a mirror behind him. A blink. The clones were gone. All 4, erased. He exhaled slowly, body glowing faintly as he hovered above the ground. Too much, he whispered, swaying slightly. Still need to reduce the backlash. Behind him, space slowly stitched itself back together. Nairos floated over, clapping softly with the lollipop still in his mouth. Edra, you broke the laws of physics less than last time. That's progress. Adam smirked, even as sweat beaded his forehead. Still feel like I'm holding back. It's like there's more, locked deep inside. Nyros stepped forward, his voice low. There is. You're just scratching the surface. Wraith gave a slow nod. At this rate, you'll be ready before the rest of the universe even realizes what's coming. Adam looked out at the horizon of his dimension, calm, stable, quiet. I don't need them to realize it, he said. I just need them to feel it. He clenched his fist, and the stars pulsed with him. This was only the beginning. Adam stood still, catching his breath as the aftermath of his sparring faded into silence. His chest rose and fell slowly, his eyes locked onto Wraith, who had been watching him the whole time. You said I'm fighting like a monarch, Adam muttered, wiping his hand across his face. But I'm not one. Not yet. Wraith raised a brow, saying nothing. Adam's gaze dropped to his hands, clenching them briefly. Not until I step into the universe and it acknowledges me, until it feels me. He turned away, his voice steady now. I've been training like I had all the time in the world. But I don't. I need to speed this up. I can't stay locked away in here forever. He started walking, his footsteps soft against the floating stone platform. But something was different. His aura, it was gone. No more tremors. No more ripples through space. The light around him stopped bending. The very dimension he created didn't react to his presence anymore. He looked completely normal. Just a man walking. Wraith narrowed his eyes. Krozak tilted his head slightly. Even Nyros sat up straight. Then Adam stopped. He turned slowly to face them, a small, confident smirk tugging at his lips. His eyes shone, not with power, but with calm understanding. I guess I'm ready now. Chapter 116. Supreme Monarch of Creation 2.
Instant Mastery, Mythique Anomalou.
Instant Mastery is a rare and anomalous skill that allows the user to instantly comprehend, learn, and master any skill, technique, weapon style, or form of energy manipulation upon first observation or minimal exposure. It bypasses the normal limitations of learning curves, practice time, and trial and error. Whether it's a lost martial art, a newly invented cultivation method, ancient spellcasting, or even alien technologies, the user can fully grasp and replicate it with precision and control in seconds. Effects: absolute comprehension. Anything the user sees or experiences can be understood at a fundamental level, down to its structure, flow, and application. Zero learning curve. The user can perfectly replicate techniques after seeing them once. Adaptive evolution. Skills or techniques learned are not just copied. They are automatically optimized and refined for the user's body, mind, and energy system. Cross-system sync. Works across all types of systems. Magic, martial, technological, divine, or unknown. Combat application. Allows the user to counter enemy techniques in real time, often using a better version than the original. Adam stood there for a moment, eyes slightly narrowed, a smirk playing on his lips. I've been sleeping on myself this whole time, he muttered. If I had thought of this sooner, I wouldn't have needed the damn font of creation to handle universal energy. His body relaxed completely now, his aura sealed so tight not even a ripple escaped him. He looked almost ordinary, but everyone present knew better. I need to start making better use of my own ability, Adam said as he turned around. He paused mid-step, then suddenly remembered something. With a flick of his fingers, shadows gathered in his palm and solidified into a dark, elegant cloak, the Shadow Sovereign's mantle. He casually tossed it to Wraith. Here, I got no use for it anymore. Fits your vibe better anyway. Wraith caught it and stared at the fabric, eyes glowing faintly. He didn't say a word, just nodded. Then Adam turned to Krozak, reached into his storage ring, and pulled out a small, pulsing crystal heart, the Abyssal Heart Core. It radiated pure abyssal power, chaotic but controlled. This suits you more than it does Wraith, Adam said, tossing it gently to Krozak. Krozak caught it, eyes wide. He didn't even try to hide his excitement. With that done, Adam looked forward again. His figure flickered once, then vanished. Wraith and Krozak followed a second later, shadows and spatial waves swallowing them whole as they left the personal dimension behind. They appeared in silence. Adam, Nyros, Wraith, and Krozak emerged into the endless black of outer space. Stars glimmering in the void, planets scattered like marbles across the distance. But they didn't even get a chance to breathe it in. The universe responded. The moment Adam set foot into reality, the fabric of space trembled. A low hum echoed through the cosmos, like a song only existence itself could hear. Then light. A blinding white glow swallowed Adam whole. His body floated upward, motionless, bathed in celestial radiance. He didn't resist. He simply closed his eyes. Wraith's eyes narrowed. Krozak fell to a knee instinctively. Even Nyros, who never looked serious, went quiet. Above them, the stars shifted. Nebulas danced. Planets rotated out of sync. The universe wasn't just reacting. It was celebrating. From every corner of creation, from the shattered ruins of old galaxies to the thrones of ancient monarchs watching through vision pools, everyone saw it. The crowning. Golden patterns spun in the light around Adam, ancient, unreadable symbols. A phantom crown formed above his head, shimmering like it was being forged from pure law and energy. Then came the voice. Not words, not language, just a sound that echoed in the hearts of all things. The supreme monarch has returned. The light pulsed once, then exploded outward, gentle, warm, and unstoppable. Planets felt it. Stars bowed to it. Entire civilizations stopped whatever they were doing and instinctively looked to the sky. And in that moment, the universe smiled. Adam slowly lowered, eyes opening, now glowing with a golden flame that danced quietly in his pupils. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The crown wasn't visible anymore. But it was there, etched into his very being. He had been recognized. He was no longer just Adam Dark. He was the supreme monarch. And things were about to get interesting. The moment Adam's feet touched solid nothingness again, the light vanished. But the weight of it didn't. Everything felt heavier now. Not in a bad way, just real. The kind of silence that made stars hold their breath. Krozak slowly stood up, his expression a mix of confusion and awe. Wraith had a rare smile tugging at his lips, while Nyros just crossed his arms and let out a low whistle. That's one way to announce yourself, Nyros muttered. Adam didn't say a word at first. His golden eyes scanned the cosmos. His senses were different now. He could hear the heartbeat of galaxies, feel the push and pull of existence itself. It was loud, but calming. He took a step forward. Reality didn't ripple. It bent. Okay, Adam finally said, voice low but clear. So this is what it feels like. He turned slightly, side-eyeing Wraith. Didn't think the universe was so dramatic. Wraith let out a quiet chuckle. You just got crowned as its ruler. Bit of flash isn't too much to ask. Adam just shook his head with a faint grin. Then he raised his hand and space twisted. A portal tore itself open in front of them, like reality was asking permission before moving aside. Let's go, he said. We've been gone long enough. But just as they were about to step in, something blinked into existence. Far ahead in the distance, a presence flickered. A giant shadow, almost like a titan formed from mist and memory. Eyes burning blue. His voice didn't echo. It vibrated. So, the crown has returned. Will you keep the peace, or break the chains? Adam paused, staring into the figure's glowing eyes. I guess we'll see, he said calmly. Then, without a second glance, he stepped through the portal, and the others followed one by one. Behind them, the stars whispered stories of a new age, of a monarch who didn't ask for the throne. End of Volume 1. Chapter 117. Absolute Monarchs. Since the beginning of everything, power ruled. The strong rose. The weak, they survived by fear. For ages, three beings stood at the top. Untouched, unchallenged. They were the absolute monarchs, their reign carved into the bones of time itself. Empires rose, fell, vanished. Threats came and went, all buried before they even got close. But then, something changed. A shadow grew, quiet, hidden, and when it finally moved, the universe shook. Wraith, the monarch of blood and shadow. The fourth, the anomaly they never saw coming. But that wasn't the real storm. That came next. Him. The one they now call the Lord of Dominion. He didn't rise like the rest. He arrived. Like he was never meant to follow the universe's rules. And he didn't. He rewrote them. A fifth monarch. But different. A force so raw, so unbound, even the laws of reality bent around him. Then came destruction. A monarch who didn't just want power, he wanted everything broken. He took Wraith under his wing, and together they brought chaos to the stars. Civilizations burned. Worlds crumbled. Even the other monarchs hid. Until Dominion stepped in. He fought destruction to the edge of existence. Crushed him. Bound him. Locked him away in a prison of eternal silence. And for a while, peace returned. But peace is never forever. Now, a new era is rising. Not one. Not two. 7 new absolute monarchs have awakened. 7. And with them something else. Someone else. The supreme monarch. Not born to follow the old order, but to erase it. This era won't just change. It'll restart everything. From zero. And when it's done, only one truth will remain. Only the crown matters. In the fabric of the universe, where the laws of existence are written in cosmic ink, the new generation of absolute monarchs has been born. 7. Each one represents an aspect of creation, a force so immense, so fundamental, that their very names echo through reality itself. The absolute monarch of strength, Raphael Williams. A being forged through the essence of pure, untamed power. His body is a monument of strength, muscles that ripple with raw force, and a presence that crushes mountains beneath his feet. Raphael's power is unmatched. He doesn't just wield strength. He is strength. Every blow he lands shakes the very foundation of the universe, and his authority commands the forces of force, might, and raw physical prowess. The absolute monarch of icy flames, Freya Dark. A chilling and scorching fusion of 2 opposing forces. Frostfire, the eternal flame of ice. Freya is the embodiment of paradox. Her flames burn cold, freezing the very air around them, yet their heat sears the soul. She commands the balance of temperature itself, the duality of hot and cold, fire and ice. Her touch freezes the hearts of her enemies, while igniting a storm of unstoppable power that ravages the universe with its unrelenting intensity. The absolute monarch of flames, Alfred Dark. A being born of the eternal fire that fuels the stars, the essence of destruction and rebirth. Alfred controls the primordial infernos, the all-consuming fire that has shaped and reshaped the universe. His flames are pure chaos, consuming everything in their path, yet they leave behind fertile ground for new life to rise from the ashes. His authority is over all things fiery, destructive, cleansing, and ever-consuming. The absolute monarch of eternal ice, Arya Dark. The timeless keeper of cold. Arya's presence brings an eternal winter. Glaciara, the infinite frost she commands, is beyond freezing. She has the power to suspend time itself within the frozen expanse. Nothing escapes her grasp. Her power is the unyielding cold of death and preservation, and she holds dominion over the passage of time, preserving moments as frozen memories, unchangeable and eternal. The absolute monarch of power, Aurora Ashbourne. A figure of unfathomable might. Her presence alone makes the air crackle with energy. Aurora is the embodiment of omnipotence, the force that governs the flow of power in the universe. She is the source and the peak, the wellspring from which all other powers derive their strength. Her authority extends across all forms of energy, manipulation, and dominion. No force can escape her grasp, for she controls not just power, but the essence of what it means to be strong, to be unstoppable. The absolute monarch of order, Joshua Jeremiah. The embodiment of structure and law. Joshua's power is absolute in its application of order, Eternus, the eternal law that binds the universe. He does not simply impose control over the chaos of existence. He is the law itself. He governs the foundation of reality, the cause and effect, the balance of fate and destiny. His will is an unshakable decree, and in his domain, even the universe itself must obey. The absolute monarch of balance, Mail. A being of perfect equilibrium. Mail is the equilibrator, the keeper of balance between all forces. No force too great, no shadow too deep. He walks the fine line between light and darkness, chaos and order, life and death. His power ensures that neither side ever tips the scale too far. He is the embodiment of neutrality, the constant watcher, ensuring that nothing disturbs the delicate equilibrium of the cosmos. The 7 absolute monarchs and the other absolute monarchs. They are the pillars upon which the universe stands, each a force of nature, each one holding dominion over a fundamental truth of existence. Cecilia's white eyes glow faintly, staring into the void beyond. Her voice is calm but serious. I can see all these things, the shifts, the power moves. But that being, she pauses, her eyes narrowing. He's too far above. I can't see through him. He's just beyond. She turns to her brother. We need to change sides, Rael. Even if it means going against the Lord of Dominion. The tide is turning, and the winning side, it's not his. Rael stands beside her, arms crossed, watching the storm build outside the window. You're sure? He asks quietly. Cecilia nods, her eyes glowing brighter. Yeah, war's coming, and if we stay where we are, we'll be crushed. Rael exhales deeply, the weight of the decision settling in. All right, if this is how it has to be, then we move. He looks over the horizon. But we do it smart. We prepare. We don't rush this. Chapter 118, Cultivation World. What planet is this? Adam asked, his voice calm but curious as he, Wraith, and Krozak landed softly within a vast, mist-covered forest. The sky above was tinted violet, with 3 moons hanging high like ancient watchers. The trees were tall and glowing faintly, their leaves shimmering with silver edges. Everything looked unreal, dreamlike. Then whoosh, a blur zipped past them overhead. A man in flowing robes, sleeves fluttering like banners in the wind, shot through the sky on a glowing flying sword. His long hair trailed behind him, and spiritual energy swirled around him like wind.
Adam Blinked.
Did I just see a guy riding a sword? Yup, Wraith replied casually, hands in his coat pockets as he stared up. Welcome to Taiyu Realm. This world straight outta a cultivation novel, sex, beasts, spirit roots, immortals, the whole package. Krozak narrowed his eyes, scanning the surroundings. It smells old, like it's been here since the beginning of time. Wraith nodded. This place is one of the ancient realms, a legacy world. Every blade of grass here has spiritual energy. Even the birds in the sky can probably throw out sword beams if you piss them off. Adam raised a brow. Interesting. Wraith pointed toward a nearby mountain in the distance. Floating palace, see that? That's probably a top-tier sect. They've got spirit veins running through that mountain. Maybe even a divine beast or 2 guarding their vault. He looked back at Adam, a smirk playing on his lips. This place doesn't follow normal universal laws. Cultivation decides status, not tech or power levels. Even a mortal can kill a god here, if their cultivation is high enough. Adam took a step forward, his gaze sharp, absorbing everything. The world buzzed softly around him, like it recognized something ancient inside him. This place, he murmured, might be fun. I believe you've been here before, Adam said, glancing at Wraith with a faint grin. His eyes gleamed with curiosity. So, where do you think we should head first? I want to look around a bit. Explore the universe a little before seeing my family. Wraith folded his arms, the shadows around him swaying like living mist. There's a city not too far from here. Floating city of Juhan. It's built entirely in the sky, held up by an ancient formation. The cultivators there are proud, but their markets are wild. You'll find spirit beasts, pills, cursed weapons, even forbidden scrolls, all out in the open. Krozak grunted. So, we're heading into a den of snakes and greedy cultivators? Wraith smirked. Exactly.
Adam çaklet.
Sounds perfect. They started walking through the forest. The air was crisp, but filled with dense spiritual energy that tickled the skin. Strange birds with crystal wings flew above, and the trees hummed quietly, as though alive. As they moved, the terrain shifted. The forest gave way to stone paths carved by time. Ancient statues lined the road, eyes watching silently. A few low-level beasts peeked from the shadows but fled the moment Adam's aura brushed past them. By the way, Wraith said, walking just ahead, try not to get involved in sect matters. These guys are always fighting. You kill one elder. Suddenly you've got 10 sects on your neck claiming revenge and honor. Adam raised a brow. What if they attack first? Wraith shrugged. Then you erase them. Simple. Soon, a massive floating landmass came into view above the clouds. Atop it sat an elegant city made of white jade, shimmering softly under the strange sky. Dozens of cultivators soared in and out on flying swords, beast mounts, and even flaming wheels.
Adam similet faintli.
This place really doesn't feel like anywhere else. Nope, Wraith said. Taiyu Realm plays by its own rules. Good, Adam replied, his voice calm but playful. I don't like rules anyway. They kept walking, the stone path slowly rising as the gravity around them began to shift. Light footsteps echoed behind Krozak as he scanned the floating city with narrowed eyes. So how do we get up there? Adam asked casually, looking up at the massive city floating thousands of feet above the forest floor. We flying or what? Wraith glanced over his shoulder. There's a teleportation pillar just ahead. Should take us straight to the lower district. Krozak frowned. Lower district? Yeah, Wraith said, already walking ahead. Cities split into levels. Lower district is where merchants, rogue cultivators, and wannabe sects hang out. You'll see people fighting in alleys over a spirit herb, and 2 seconds later, sitting together drinking. Chaos, but controlled chaos. The higher up you go, the stronger they are, and the rules get tighter.
Adam nodded slowly.
So, should I behave? Wraith turned, smirking. Would you even know how?
Adam grinned.
Not really. They reached a tall stone platform carved with runes. It shimmered faintly, glowing brighter as Wraith stepped onto it and tapped a sigil on the side. Here we go. A low hum echoed as light wrapped around them, swallowing their figures in a soft flash. When the light faded, they stood at the edge of a bustling city suspended in the sky. Buildings floated, some chained to each other with glowing spirit metal. Bridges twisted through the air like silver vines, connecting towers made of obsidian and jade. Cultivators in robes soared above, some riding beasts, some just gliding with energy under their feet. The air was thick with spiritual energy, dense, vibrant, intoxicating. Merchants shouted from stalls selling strange fruits that sparkled like stars. Children raced through the streets chasing paper talismans that flapped like birds. Adam looked around, his eyes absorbing every detail. Yeah, this is more like it. A man in gold-trimmed blue robes walked past them, sparing a quick glance. His eyes widened the moment they met Adam's, but he didn't say anything. He just bowed slightly and walked faster. Wraith saw it and chuckled. Your presence is already making waves. Krozak cracked his knuckles. I give it 5 minutes before someone tries something stupid.
Adam similet kaimli.
I give it 2. A sudden boom echoed from deeper in the city. A building exploded into flame as 2 cultivators were launched through the air, crashing into a jade statue. Wraith pointed with his thumb. Told you. Welcome to Juhan.
Adam laughed.
Let's go say hi. Chapter 119, Living His Life. They walked toward the chaos like it was nothing. Smoke curled into the air, spiraling high above the shattered building. People gathered around, whispering, pointing, backing away as 2 scorched cultivators stumbled to their feet, blood trailing from their lips. From the ruins stepped a man in black and red robes. His long hair tied into a high knot, a jagged blade resting on his shoulder. His aura crackled with killing intent. His eyes swept the crowd, cold, sharp, like a predator searching for another fight. He pointed the blade at one of the injured cultivators. "You dare question my clan's honor in public?" The man coughed up blood and spat. "You cheated in the duel, you bastard." The crowd gasped. A few onlookers floated backward, distancing themselves before another explosion happened. The red-robed man grinned. "You lost. Accept it." He raised his blade again, spiritual energy flooding the air like a pressure wave. People shielded themselves, some retreating outright. But then, a footstep. Just one. Calm. Steady. Adam walked out from the crowd, hands in his pockets, eyes slightly narrowed like he was half bored, half amused. Wraith and Krozak stayed behind him, giving no warning. The red-robed cultivator turned, his killing intent locking onto Adam like a beast spotting prey. "You wanna die too?" Adam tilted his head. "Nope. Just thought your aura was loud." The man frowned. "What? I mean, you're standing there trying to be cool and dangerous, but you're yelling spiritually." Adam waved his hand lazily. "Kinda ruining the vibe, you know?" Gasps rippled through the crowd. The red-robed man's eye twitched. "Who the hell are you?" Adam didn't answer. He just smiled. Wraith leaned toward Krozak, whispering, "He's gonna poke him." "He already is," Krozak replied, arms folded. The man snarled. "You arrogant." He swung his blade with a sharp motion, spirit energy slicing through the air like a wave of lightning. And then crack. The attack stopped mid-air.
No flash, no counterattack.
Just stopped. Adam was still smiling, but now his fingers were slightly raised. The energy dissolved into sparkles, harmless, like it had never existed. Silence fell. Then Adam looked at the man's blade. "That thing looks heavy. You sure it's not compensating for something?" The crowd gasped again. Someone even dropped a fruit. Wraith laughed under his breath. The red-robed cultivator snapped. He lunged forward, blade flashing, spiritual energy erupting in all directions. But he never reached Adam. In a blur of light, the cultivator stopped mid-air, frozen. His feet hovered just inches from the ground, but he couldn't move. His limbs trembled. His blade shattered like glass in slow motion. Adam hadn't moved. He just stared at the man, one hand still in his pocket. "See," Adam said calmly. Loud. The man dropped to the ground, knees shaking, face pale. Wraith walked up beside Adam. "Well, that escalated normally." Krozak looked at the broken sword. Too much flash, not enough substance. The crowd didn't say anything. Some backed away. Some bowed, unsure of what just happened. A few cultivators watched from above, already taking notes, or maybe marking targets.
Adam yawned. "Anyway, I'm hungry."
"Where's the nearest food stall?" Wraith pointed to the left. "Smell that? Spicy beast noodles." Adam's eyes lit up. "Lead the way." And just like that, the three of them walked off, leaving the red-robed cultivator on the ground, clutching the broken hilt of his pride, surrounded by a stunned city. The noodle stall was tucked under a floating lantern tree, its glowing roots dangling from above like soft vines of light. The smell? Insane. Smoky, spicy, with this rich umami punch that punched harder than a chi condensation jab. The vendor, a chubby old man with bushy eyebrows and no shoes, was tossing noodles in a wok that floated midair. Flames danced around him like they were listening to music only he could hear. He glanced up as the trio approached, his eyes flickering with a bit too much clarity for just a noodle guy. "You boys new here?" he asked, sliding bowls around like a street magician. "You've got that I just wrecked someone important and don't care kind of vibe." Adam slid onto one of the low stools. "He started it." Wraith leaned on the counter. "He lost it." Krozak sat down without a word, already sniffing the broth like a hungry beast. The old man laughed, teeth shining like polished jade. "Well, welcome to Juhan. First fight's free, second one gets you watched, third one. He pointed a chopstick at Adam. Gets you invitations. Invitations. Adam raised a brow. To sections. Clans. Rich weirdos who think they're immortal just 'cause they haven't died yet. They'll want to recruit you, challenge you, or marry you off to their daughters. Wraith grinned. You hear that? Adam's finally gonna get a fan club. Adam stirred his noodles, eyes half-lidded. Ugh. Hope they cook better than they fight. Just as they started eating, a shadow fell across the stall. A young woman floated down, dressed in violet robes embroidered with phoenix feathers. Her eyes were sharp, cold, beautiful in that probably trained with a sword since age 4 kind of way. She looked straight at Adam. You injured Elder Wu of the Flame Lotus sect. Adam slurped a noodle. Who? She didn't blink. My uncle. Krozak paused mid-bite. Of course he's somebody's uncle. The woman reached behind her back and drew a slender jade flute. Energy crackled at the tip, forming symbols in the air. I challenge you, she said, stepping onto a floating tile of light, to a formal duel. Adam sighed, wiping his mouth with a napkin. Can I finish eating first?
No.
He stared at her, then turned to the old man behind the stall. To go. The vendor didn't miss a beat. He packed 3 bowls instantly, lids sealed with a quick hand seal. Good luck, kid. Adam stood slowly, took his bowl, and floated into the air, level with the woman. Wraith and Krozak remained below, still eating. Try not to break her, Wraith called lazily. I make no promises, Adam replied. They faced off in midair, a silent crowd forming in seconds. Cultivators lined rooftops and hovered mid-sky. This time, everyone sensed it. This wasn't going to be a regular duel. The woman raised her flute and played a single note. The sky trembled. Wind swirled. Spirit energy formed massive sound waves in the shape of phoenix wings, slashing toward Adam like sonic blades. Adam tilted his head slightly. Then he moved. Not fast, casual. He raised a finger, traced something in the air, and the entire attack shattered like glass on contact. Gasps exploded around the city. The woman froze mid-note. Adam floated closer, close enough to see her blink. I don't duel for free, he said softly. Next time, bring a reason. And then he vanished. Just gone.
No flash. No noise.
No teleport effect. He just wasn't there anymore. The woman landed slowly, her hands trembling slightly, the flute lowering. She looked around.
No Adam.
From below, Wraith pointed toward a noodle stall a few streets over. He's over there. We're getting drinks. She didn't reply, but her heart was beating faster than it had in years. Meanwhile, Adam sipped cold spirit tea and went back to eating. No one else dared interrupt. Yet, because in the towers above, behind formation-shielded windows and enchanted curtains, eyes were watching. Sect leaders, assassin clans, beast tamers, treasure hunters, all watching the man who broke a sound phoenix with a flick of his finger, and then dipped to finish his noodles. Chapter 120. Vacation. A breeze rolled through the city, lifting petals from the lantern trees, scattering them across the rooftops and glowing banners. Inside a tall pagoda carved from black jade, a pair of eyes narrowed behind a paper fan. So, that's the guy? Another voice replied from the shadows. He didn't even chant, just waved his hand and poof, your niece's big move turned to sparkles. She trained for 8 years to master that sound phoenix. Yeah, well, he finished a bowl of noodles while dodging it. The fan snapped shut. Down below, the city moved like nothing had happened, but you could feel it. People were buzzing. Shopkeepers whispering behind counters. Kids reenacting the fight with wooden swords and finger flicks. Elders quietly adjusting the rankings on their jade slips.
Adam?
Still sitting, feet up, leaning against the stall with a straw poking out his tea. He blinked once, then twice. Yo, he said suddenly. You guys feel that? Wraith tilted his head. The air just changed. Krozak growled low. Someone's watching. No, Adam said, standing. Everyone is watching. The ground trembled, soft at first, like a heartbeat, then louder. Boom, boom, a rhythm, a beat. From the end of the street, something was coming. Something heavy. Then they saw it. Carriage. But not just any carriage. It was massive, pulled by 4 stone lions with glowing eyes, each step shaking the tiles. The carriage itself was black wood, etched in gold, floating just above the ground, wrapped in barrier charms and trailing incense mist. The crowd parted instantly. A small figure stepped out first. A kid, maybe 10? He wore all white, had silver hair and eyes like a mirror.
Noora. No killing intent.
Just walked up to Adam and held up a sealed scroll. Adam raised an eyebrow. Fan mail. No, the boy said quietly. An invitation. Then he turned and walked back to the carriage like it was nothing. Wraith whistled. That's the Ghost Pavilion style. They don't show up unless someone's on their list. Adam stared at the scroll for a second, then opened it. A single sentence written in ink that shimmered with moonlight. Come to the pavilion. Bring your friends. Or don't. We'll be watching anyway. He blinked. Creepy. Then the sky cracked. Literally. Like someone had smacked the clouds with a hammer. A massive golden sword mark split the clouds open, and a voice boomed across the city.
You Adam.
Everyone froze. A golden platform descended like a god's elevator. On it stood a tall woman in crimson armor, flaming wings flaring from her back. Holy crap, Wraith muttered. That's the Flame Lotus Sex Saint General. Adam sipped the last of his tea, tossing the cup away. Still mad, huh? She pointed a giant burning halberd down at him. You humiliated my nephew. Which one? Adam asked. Both. Oof, that's gotta hurt. She descended in a burst of flames, landing like a meteor. Tiles cracked. Everyone stumbled back, shielding their eyes.
Adam sikhet.
Okay, he muttered, stretching his arms. Guess I've digested now. Krozak cracked his neck. Want us to step in? Adam shook his head, a lazy smile spreading across his face. Nah, I'll make it quick. Adam stepping forward, each footstep rippling the air. The wind circled him, playful, mischievous. He raised a hand and snapped his fingers. Boom! The fire vanished. The platform shattered. The Saint General was thrown backward in a spiral of light, caught midair by a sudden invisible force. The city was dead silent. Adam yawned again. Can I go back to eating now? No one answered, because every single person in that city, they were already updating their jade slips.
Adam.
Name, unknown. Origin, unknown. Cultivation? Rank, do not engage. Unless you're bringing food. And just like that, days slipped into weeks. Johan City buzzed as always. Duels, spirit beasts, flying boats, markets with glowing fruits and stalls selling things that whispered when touched. But for Adam, it was vacation. Pure, dumb fun. He wandered, fought when he felt like it, ate like a king, and slept like he had no responsibilities. He knew it wouldn't last. Knew that once he left this place, there'd be no more lazy days. Not for a long, long time. Morning came soft, sky painted in orange and pale blue. Adam sat on the roof of the inn, sipping spirit tea with his legs swinging off the edge. Behind him, Wraith stood quiet, arms folded. I'll head out now. Gonna check on the kids, see how things are going across the stars. I'll send word if anything's weird. He bowed his head slightly, not out of respect, just habit. Adam didn't turn, just waved lazily with his cup. Nah, don't bother. Go chill with your family. You deserve it. Same for you, Krozak, he added, glancing over his shoulder. Krozak was by the stairs, already packed, heavy axe strapped to his back. He grunted, nodded once. When I feel like knowing what's happening out there, Adam said, standing up, I'll go take a look myself. The wind picked up. A leaf fluttered past.
No goodbyes.
Just that vibe, the kind only real ones have. They left without another word, 2 flashes of light streaking into the sky, disappearing into the clouds.
Adam stayed.
His robe flapped a little in the breeze. He finished his tea, stretched, then looked down at the street. Now, he said, a small smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. What's for breakfast? And somewhere across the city, someone screamed as a spirit beast got loose. Adam vanished from the roof mid-laugh. The streets were chaos. A 6-legged, feathered lizard the size of a house barreled down the market lane, knocking over stalls and sending cultivators flying. One poor vendor dove into a pile of peaches, cursing his ancestors as his fruit rolled everywhere. Adam strolled into the scene a second later, hands in his sleeves, eyes half-lidded like he just woke up from a nap. Eh? He blinked as the beast roared, its breath hot enough to melt the cobblestones. That thing again? Didn't someone put it in a cage 2 days ago? A young sect disciple scrambled by him, eyes wide. Senior, please, help. That thing ate Elder Go's pills. Adam scratched his head. So? Elder Go's pills taste like feet. The beast saw him, stopped mid-rampage, tail twitching. They locked eyes. A moment of silence. Then it turned around and bolted the other way. Everyone watched as the giant lizard skidded around a corner and vanished into the hills, yelping like a kicked puppy. The street was silent. Someone whispered, "It ran from him?"
Adam yanıt.
"If it comes back, just throw snacks at it." He walked off like nothing happened. Above, on a nearby balcony, a few sect elders watched him go. "Is he really staying here for fun?" one of them asked, sipping from a jade cup. Another nodded. "Apparently. I thought he was a god or something. Maybe gods get bored too." Meanwhile, Adam wandered into a noodle stall and sat down with a loud sigh. The vendor peeked from behind the counter. You're not here to blow anything up, right?"
Adam grinledi.
"Not unless your broth's terrible." Relieved, the vendor quickly handed him a bowl. Adam slurped noisily, then grinned wider. Not bad. Behind him, a new commotion started down the street. Another beast. Another poor soul screaming. Adam raised his bowl. 5 more minutes, he muttered with a mouth full of noodles. Let them sweat a bit, because right now, he was still on vacation.